A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
This I believe. Edward F. Arnn is now serving his second term as governor of Kansas. He was Attorney General and Associate Justice of the State Supreme Court before his election to his present office. He did not enter public life until 1946. Before that, he had his own law practice in Wichita. Here now is the creed of Governor Arnn.
I believe in the nobility which motivates mankind most in times of great tragedy and stress. The nobility which rises above religious, racial, and social preference and prejudice. And I saw that nobility in positive action as members of our churches and organizations of every type worked side by side for a common humanitarian cause. It was in the summer of 1951, when the most destructive floods in the history of Kansas made thousands of families homeless. It caused property damage amounting to many millions of dollars. The effects in some areas may be evident for a century to come. Here was heartache and misery without precedent in our state. Homes acquired through years of toil and sacrifice were swept away, as were priceless personal possessions. Business establishments built up since the dark days of the Depression era were reduced to slimy rubble. Rich farmlands, productive for generations, were ruined in some sections by thick blankets of sand left in the wake of flood waters. But while there was discouragement, there was never doubt. With faith in God and in themselves, our people turned at once to the tasks of rehabilitation, and man's humanity to man became evident everywhere, and especially so among the young people. I saw 1,000 examples of what I have always felt is the hallmark of human progress: Christian service and sacrifice on behalf of others. I believe in the essential goodness of our young people, in the basic strength of their character, and in their ability to meet every crisis they are called upon to face. I saw my faith demonstrated when a city's vital waterworks was menaced by the flood, when there were appeals for men to serve on a sandbag line, when hundreds of teenagers, those whom we are too prone to call irresponsible, stood ankle-deep in mud and moved sandbags until dozens of boys dropped in their tracks from utter exhaustion. Among those who came to the capital city of Kansas to help with rehabilitation tasks were a number of Mennonites from a settlement out in the central part of our state. They were devoted, gentle, deeply religious men of a sect so conscientious in convictions that their persecution often arises from public misunderstanding and intolerance. Yet, these men went to the flood-stricken cities to help their fellow men. For weeks they labored and refused to accept pay, doing the most disagreeable and most back-breaking tasks because of their simple dedication to what they considered to be God's work. One day, during a brief respite, a group of these bearded men came to the state capitol building and solemnly stood looking at a great mural depicting a dramatic chapter in the fight against slavery that began in Kansas. Men had character in those days, one of them remarked quietly. And yes, I too believe that men had character in those days when blood was shed for a principle. And I believe also that men have character today in our own time and generation. I believe the faith of our fathers is still our faith, that one man's burden continues to be the burden of every man, that while our ways may change, our souls and hearts and minds are equal to every challenge in life. I believe in the wisdom of God, and I believe in the ultimate ability of my fellow man upon this earth to accept spiritual guidance and translate it into day-by-day deeds of affecting for good the lives of us all.
That was Governor Edward F. Arnn of Kansas. He lives with his wife and 2 daughters at the Executive Mansion in Topeka.
The Anchor-Hawking Glass Corporation brings you Crime Photographer.
Hey, Ethelbert, you ever take a word association test?
I don't think so. How's it go?
Oh, it's simple. Look, I give you a word, and you answer immediately with a word that comes into your mind, see?
Okay, try me.
All right. Red.
Blue.
Boy.
Girl.
Run.
Walk.
Bottle.
Anchor hocking, the most famous name in glass. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Tony Marvin. Every week at this time, the Anchor Hocking Glass Corporation of Lancaster, Ohio, and its more than 10,000 employees bring you another adventure of Casey, crime photographer, ace cameraman who covers the crime news of a great city. Written by Alonzo Dean Cole. Our adventure for tonight, Pickup. 9:00 in the evening, the Blue Note Cafe. Ethelbert, the head bartender, is chatting with a customer, a tall, thin, white-haired man with a gentle face, when he hears a familiar voice.
Hi, Ethelbert.
Huh? Oh, good evening, Casey. Excuse me, will you, Mr. Hutchins?
Sure, Ethelbert.
I ain't seen you all day, Casey. Where you been?
No, I've been busy, pal.
You told me you were on the lobster shift this week, which means you don't start to work till midnight.
Listen, Shotty, this is spring. Miss Williams and I have spent the day in the park. We've been taking pictures of the birds and the bees.
Where's Miss Williams?
I left her at the office. Hey, look, give me 4 packs of cigarettes, will you? 2 Miss Williams' kind, 2 of mine.
Okay.
Hey, listen, pal, wait a minute.
Huh?
Who's the guy you were talking to when I came in? His face is familiar.
Oh, he's Britt Hutchins, Casey, the horse trainer.
Oh, sure, yeah. Well, what's he doing in town? His stable is racing out west right now.
I got an idea he's here looking for the murderer of Cass Marlin.
Yeah?
You know, Cass Marlin was the jockey who got bumped off down in Florida just before he was to
Yeah,
ride.
of course I know.
Yeah.
Well, did Hutchins say that he was looking for the murder?
No, I just got the idea because he and Cass were such good friends.
Uh-huh.
All he really said about the killing was what the papers had been saying, that it's still a complete mystery who done it.
Well, it's pretty obvious why it was done. With Cass Marlin in the saddle, Fireball will have won the Alderstone Trophy race.
I hear the cops have questioned Steve Harold about it. He's supposed to have won a lot of money when Fireball didn't even show.
Well, they've questioned all the big bettors who've been known to fix things when they can. But Captain Logan investigated Steve Harold at the request of the Florida police and found that Steve looked pretty clean for once. Listen, you know, I think I'm going to have a talk with Britt Hutchins. He trained Fireball, and as you say, he and Cass were pretty close.
You won't get any more out of Hutchins than I did, Casey.
That's what you think, pal.
Ah.
Say hello to him, anyway. Hi, Britt. Remember me? Casey, Morning Express.
Casey. Oh, yeah. Hi.
How about same? You know, we've been hearing a lot about the Cass Marlin killing up here. I knew Cass pretty well, so...
If you're going to pump me for inside dope on it, fella, I don't know any. Cass was like a son to me. He worked for me. Set to ride one of my horses. One of my owners, Mr. Ashley's horses, I mean. When somebody put a bullet in his head and... That's the whole story as far as I'm concerned.
I see.
Well, guess I'll be going. Got business to tend to.
Yeah. Okay, Britt. Well, I'll run into you again sometime. So long.
So long, boy.
I'll see you later, Ethelbert.
Going so soon, Casey?
Well, I got to take Miss Williams her cigarette.
Didn't I say you'd get the old brusheroo?
I hate guys who pull the I told you so gag. So long, pal.
Excuse me.
Huh? Yeah?
Your name's Casey, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Morning Express photographer?
Right again.
Let's take a walk.
Well, say, it's a little sudden, sister. I don't think I know you. Or do I?
You don't.
Well, then what...
Call it a pickup.
Well, I don't go in for pickups.
Well, call it anything you want till we get someplace where we can talk alone. I've got news to sell. You interested?
Always. Okay, where we go?
Well, there's a little place around the corner, Farley's Tavern. That suits you?
It'll do. But I don't like the place from a social standpoint, sister, so the news you want to sell had better be on the level. Okay, sister, now speak your piece.
Well, after the waiter leaves.
Oh, jittery, huh?
You'd be jittery, too, if you were in my spot.
In a jam?
afraid of being bumped off, that's all.
Oh, you're beginning to interest me.
Anything else?
No, not now.
Gee, thanks, pal.
All right. Well, he's gone. I'm listening.
How much will your paper pay for the exclusive inside dope on a murder?
That depends on the murder. Some are in the dime a dozen class.
How about the Cass Marlin killing?
Cass Marlin?
Yes.
This is a coincidence.
What's a coincidence?
Well, I was thinking about that shooting when you picked me up, that's all.
The dope on it's worth plenty, isn't it?
The real dope is.
I can give it to you.
Well, I'll have to be sure of that before I go to my city editor and proposition, I can't pay out dough on my own.
If I tell you who I am and how I know about the case, will you promise to keep it under your hat? Whether we make a deal or not?
Yep.
I guess I can trust you. Cass told me you never double-crossed anyone.
Cass told you about me, huh?
Yeah, that's why I looked you up when I hit this town tonight. I phoned your office first, and they said I might find you at the Blue Note Cafe. I was on my way over there when I saw you come out. I recognized you by a picture Cass had.
You must have been a close friend of Cass's.
He was going to marry me.
Yeah? What's your name, sister?
Edith Landau.
Edith Landau. It's funny, I've seen most of the police reports on the case, and I've come across no mention of a gal named Edith Landau.
You've heard Cass was getting a divorce, haven't you?
Yeah?
Well, on that account, very few people knew I was his girlfriend. It had to be that way because his wife's lawyers might have made something out of it.
Well, that's a pretty good answer. Well, give me one for this. If you cared enough for the guy to want to marry him, why didn't you go to the cops with this inside information?
You think I'm a phony, don't you?
You might be.
Well, listen, wise guy. I didn't say I cared anything about Cass. I was going to marry him because he was in the big dough. When he died, I saw myself out of his dough. The cops wouldn't pay me a dime for the information I had, and Cass owed me something one way or another. So I decided to cash in with a big newspaper. A bigger one than there is down in Florida. Yours. Is that straight enough for you?
Too straight to like very well.
I don't care what you think of me. I've got a story to sell. But you've got to act quick. I can't keep it bottled up any longer, even for dough, because the killer knows I'm onto him and he's after me. Now, any more questions?
Only the one for the big prize. Who's the killer?
I'll tell you that when I see money. $10,000.
$10,000?
My story's worth it, and papers like yours can pay it.
I've always wanted to see my city editor drop dead. He will when he hears that figure. So come on, I'll take you over to him.
No. Nobody must know anything about my part in this till the killers are all behind bars.
It was killer before, now it's plural.
Well, I'm pretty sure there's more than one man mixed up in this. And I'll tell you something else to prove that I'm on the level. The cop theories are all wrong. They think Cass was killed so he couldn't ride Fireball, but...
What's the matter?
That big guy just walked up to the bar. He knows me.
Yeah, I know him.
And you know who he works for?
Yeah. Steve Harold.
Look, I gotta get out of here quick. Mr. Casey, don't let him follow me. Stall him, hold him by force if you have to till I get away. Promise me you will.
This is an act, sister.
I swear it isn't. You say you know who that man is.
Okay, I'll hold him.
And lend me $5.
Lend you?
I haven't got enough for cab fare, and I've got to get away fast and far, please.
Well, I've always been a sap. Here's a thin.
Thanks. Look, I'll phone you at your office in an hour and tell you where to meet me, where it'll be safe. And don't let Denver Lane follow me. I'm going. Goodbye.
Hi, Denver.
Hello, Casey. Noticed your gal friend left in quite a hurry.
Yeah. Had to run for a bus. You know her, Denver?
Never saw her before. Not a bad-looking bimbo. Who is she?
Well, just a pickup I made.
Didn't know you went in for pickup.
I have my moments.
Cigarette, Casey?
Yeah, thanks. You, no hurry to leave here?
Why should I be? I just come in.
Yeah, Denver, I have my moments.
With that story, you let her take you for $5, Casey?
Well, Annie, the act she put on was pretty solid. She had me hooked when she pulled a big scared act about Denver Lane. You know, the guy's a gunman and he works for Steve Harold, who's up to his neck in the racing racket. For a moment, the parts all seemed to fit.
Until Denver made no attempt to follow your little chum.
He stayed in the joint for half an hour, and then he walked over here to the Express building with me.
In the rain?
Yeah, that's one break I got tonight anyway. We were within 10 feet of where my car was parked when it started, so I just reached in and got my raincoat. Denver got soaked.
Well, put the raincoat on again. Let's go over to the Blue Note.
Yeah, I see enough of this photographer's room when I'm on duty. It's over an hour now since Edith Landau said she'd phone me in an hour, so...
Have you been waiting here thinking that she might phone you?
Well, Annie, her act was almost too good for a $5 take. Oh, nuts. When I start being a sap, I keep it up, I guess. Come on, let's go.
Casey!
Oh, hello, Moocher.
Are you a guy I'm glad to see?
Now listen, Moocher, I'm short on dough
Who
today,
wants
though.
dough? You don't start on the job till midnight, do you?
No.
Swell. You won't need your car till then.
My car?
Mine just had to be towed to the shop, and now City Desk has given me an assignment out in the sticks. Give me your keys, pal.
No. The last time you borrowed my car...
Could I help it about them two fenders?
Well, you could have paid to have them fixed.
Miss
anyhow.
Williams, I leave it to you. Shouldn't us press photographers stick together and help each other
I'm
out?
nuts with that stuff. Now, don't...
Oh, I admit Casey's a better button pusher than I am. He's a genius, the only one of his kind.
Now, look here.
Which is all the more reason why he should give me succor in my hour of need. Casey, can a master like you let down a bum like me?
Yes.
Don't say that. No.
Oh, come on, give him the car keys, Casey. You know he'll get them if he has to cry real tears.
Oh, I guess you're right, Annie. All right, take them, Mooch.
Ah, my pal. My beloved colleague.
Get out.
Nay. I tarry for one further little favor.
Oh, my.
Yes, the weather is inclement, and I came to work without my raincoat.
All right, take mine.
Ah, my friend in need. And a perfect fit. My undying gratitude, Monsieur. And can you spare a cigarette?
Oh, that too. All right, here's half a pack and a book of matches. Now get out before I commit a little mayhem.
I go, master. I do thou's bidding. Goodbye, Miss Williams. Fair lady. Farewell.
He's really a character, Casey.
Oh, some character. You wouldn't think so if he was in your department. As I said before, when I start being a sap, Annie,
There's your desk phone.
Yeah, it might be that Edith.
As you said before.
Yeah. Hello, Casey speaking. Oh, city desk. Listen, Burke, I don't go on duty till 12, so I'm not going to take any assignments now. Well, of course I'll let you talk. Who's stopping you? Oh? Murder, huh? Strangled in a vacant lot. Sounds good. Yeah, I got the address, yeah.
Here we go again.
Any details? Identification found on the button. What? What's that name again? Yes, we'll grab a cab and get out there right away.
Hey, what is it, Casey?
That dame, Edith Landau, was murdered about 15 minutes after she left me.
Our story will continue in just a moment. It's here.
It's here.
The Anchor Glass one-way, no-deposit bottle for beer and ale.
You pay no deposit.
You don't have to return it to the store.
It holds a full 12 ounces.
A full 12 ounces, just like an ordinary beer bottle.
Yet it's so compact it takes up a minimum of space in your refrigerator.
It's perfectly balanced and light as a feather. Easy to handle, easy to pour from. Chills beer quickly, holds the chill longer.
And it's easy to open, safe to open. A flick of your wrist and into your glass pours a golden stream of wholesome American beer, brewed and bottled and served the American way.
In glass.
Yes, in glass. Glass which brings you beer and ale brewery bright. Glass which can't affect taste or flavor. Glass, the sanitary container for beer and ale.
Your favorite beer and ale is on its way to you right now in the new Anchor Glass one-way, no-deposit bottle. Another great contribution to convenience and to gracious living and entertaining. The Anchor Glass one-way, no-deposit bottle is a product of Anchor Hocking. The most famous name in glass. Look at that body again, Casey. You're sure it's the woman who told you that story?
Definitely. I was sure of it after my first look, Logan.
Captain, her story must have been the truth.
I told you, Annie, I was more than half sold on that story at first.
And she borrowed that 5 spot to take a cab from Farley's Tavern, huh?
So she said.
Yeah. This place is about 3 miles from Farley's. Now, assuming her story was true, she might have paid off the cab after the first mile or so to save money and started walking. The killer had been following her, and when she came to this block of vacant lots, he hopped out of his car and strangled her.
But Denver Lane was the guy she was afraid of, Logan. And Denver didn't follow her. He was with me at the time she was being strangled.
Yeah, but his boss, Steve Harold, wasn't with you.
Well, you cleared Harold of suspicion in the Cass-Marlin murder, Captain.
No, we didn't clear him, Miss Williams. It was simply impossible to prove he had any part in it.
Hey, Captain Logan.
Yeah, Sergeant?
We just got a message for you on the car radio that Casey.
Huh?
What's the matter?
Stop looking at me as if I was a ghost, Flanagan.
Casey, you're dead.
I'm what?
Well, if you're not, the message that just come in is all cockeyed.
What do you mean?
Headquarters says that Casey's dead body has just been found in the wreck of Casey's car.
Well, move your Annie.
Oh, sure, he borrowed your car.
And had an accident.
Accident, nothing. There's 2 bullet holes in the dead guy's head.
Well, the thing's plain enough now, Casey. Denver Lane had spotted that girl before you and she went into Farley.
Yeah, maybe before she picked me up outside the Blue Note, Logan. He had another of Steve Harold's guys with him.
And the other gunman followed Edith Landell and killed her while Denver stuck close to you.
Sure, Miss Williams. Denver figured the Landau dame had given Casey the dope she had on the Marlin murder.
He couldn't risk any rough stuff during our walk to the Express building, so he waited outside in a car. And when he saw a guy my size wearing my raincoat come out and get into my car...
The information he thought you had to be suppressed. With you and the dame out of the way, there'd be no evidence.
Now, what are you going to do, Captain?
I'll show you, Miss Williams. Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
Get headquarters on your radio and instruct everyone concerned to let no outsider have a close look at the body found in Casey's wrecked car. And tell them to give out information that it's definitely Casey's body.
Yes, sir.
Wait, Sergeant.
Yes.
Also, I want Denver Lane and Steve Harold brought to headquarters as soon as they can be found and kept in separate rooms. And instruct arresting officers to tell them nothing about anything. That's all.
Right, sir.
I get it, Logan, the old surprise treatment.
And a big surprise. If Sergeant Flanagan thought you were a ghost, the guys who think they killed you, they just might go to pieces and tell us what we want to know. Steve Harold's cooling off in this room, Casey. Now, I'll go in alone, and you follow, and you hear me clear my throat.
Okay, love.
I hope this works.
Oh, it'll work, Miss Williams. You stay here with Casey. Here goes. Hello, Harold.
Oh, good evening, Captain. Good morning, rather. Well, now that you're here, perhaps I'll get some information as to why I've been rudely conducted to this, unglamorous place.
My boys didn't tell you?
No. All they told me was to come along, and naturally, as a law-abiding citizen, I made no resistance despite the invasion of my constitutional rights.
Stop talking like a book.
All right, Captain. But look, none of you cops have anything on me, and I'm definitely in the clear with your homicide bureau, so, well, what's the big idea?
A girl named Edith Landau was killed tonight.
Oh, really?
You've never heard of her, I suppose.
Yes. As a matter of fact, I have.
Really?
Yes. Well, Landau isn't a common name, so I presume it's the same girl I met with Cass-Marlin several months before he was killed. He'd fallen rather hard for the little gold digger.
Now, why didn't you tell me about the Landau girl when I questioned you on the Marlin case?
My dear fellow, you didn't ask me. Why do you suppose she was killed tonight?
Because she knew too much about Cass-Marlin's murder. And she told what she knew before she died, Steve.
You interest me. By the way, whom did she tell?
A man who also was killed.
And you're still out on a limb.
Not quite. This man told the story to his newspaper associates before 2 bullets got him in the head.
Their evidence will be only second-hand hearsay. It wouldn't be admitted at a murder trial.
You know your law, don't you, Steve?
I know a little.
Excuse me, I have a little cold.
Hello, Steve.
Oh, hello, Casey. Nice to see you, boy. Go on with your story about the man who was killed, Captain. You 2 chaps look kind of strange. Anything upset you?
Nothing at all, Steve.
No, nothing at all.
Denver's the guy who tried to kill you, Casey. He obviously didn't get word to Steve Harold about the things that happened tonight. Now, we work the gag on Denver now.
All right, all set, pal. It ought to work on Denver.
You say this newspaper guy who was shot spilled the dope he got from the landlord?
That's right, Denver.
Well, it's no break for you, Captain. The courts don't accept that kind of third-hand evidence.
You're right again.
Oh, well, if only the poor guy was alive.
Yeah. Excuse me, a little cold.
Hello, Denver.
Well, nice to see you again, Casey.
Yeah?
Casey and I had quite a get-together at Farley's place tonight, Captain.
Yeah?
Yeah. Maybe I shouldn't spill this on him, but he was in there with the crummiest looking pickup you've ever seen.
Nuts to you and your ideas, Logan.
No, Casey, nuts to you.
Your big act fell flat with both Denver and Steve Harold, huh, Casey?
Yeah, so flat it busted all over the place, Ethelbert.
Well, neither of those men could have thought Casey was dead. Both of them are ice-cold characters, but no guilty person could have taken the shock of his appearance without some giveaway reaction.
Yeah, you'd think so. They didn't even flicker an eyelash, either one of them.
Maybe they was tipped off in advance that it was really poor Moocher who was shot.
No. Logan went over that angle before we made our play. There's a cop on the scene, kept everybody away from the body. Nobody got close to it at all except other cops. Besides, after 2 heavy-caliber bullets go through a guy's head, Ethelbert, it's sometimes pretty hard to tell who he was.
Maybe the killer knows by now he didn't get you, Casey, so he'll try again.
Oh, that's covered, thank goodness. Captain Logan has assigned 2 bodyguards to Casey.
Yeah. A louse.
That innocent-looking gray-haired man over in the corner is one, and Sergeant Flanagan is hanging around outside.
You know, I just got to find a killer in order to get those guys out of my hair. I can't stand it. Hey.
Yeah?
Annie, I've just remembered something. You know, I've been a dope.
That's a surprising confession.
Look, Edith Landau was about to tell me something when she saw Denver. And then she got scared and stopped cold. She said, wait a minute, let me see. She said the cops' theories are all wrong. They think Cass was killed so he couldn't ride Fireball. And that's as far as she got.
Well, the original suspicion of Steve Harold was based on the idea that he didn't want Fireball to win.
Sure. Ethelbert!
Don't bark at me like that, Casey. I'm a nervous guy.
Certainly are. Well, okay, all right, but look, when did Britt Hutchins leave this joint tonight? Tell me that.
Britt Hutchins?
Yes, the horse trainer who was on vacation while his stable is racing out west.
Why, he went out the door right after you did.
And he saw me talking with that girl. He could have seen me going to Farley's with her. He could have followed when she left there alone. He even could have strangled her to death and gotten back to the express building in time to see Moocher get in my car. Then Hutchins could have followed him and thought it was me.
But Hutchins was a friend of Cass Marlin's. He couldn't have...
No. Friendship in a gambling racket seldom goes deeper than the money pocket. And horse trainers should only take vacations when their horses do. Annie, come on.
Where?
We're going to tell Logan to find Hutchins.
Casey.
See you later, Ethelbert.
Now, wait for your gray-haired bodyguard, Casey.
Never mind. Those bodyguards can't keep up with me. I'll be very happy. There's a cab, Annie. Hey, taxi!
Oh, Casey!
Annie,
I'm shooting you. Oh, you're hit.
Oh, I'm okay.
Oh, no.
Flanagan, get him! Get him!
Got him, Casey. No, let me go.
Well, hello, Britt. So you were the guy. You missed me again, huh?
No, he didn't miss you. I've got a doctor. There's blood all over Casey's head. He's dying.
Annie, I'll bet you 2 to 1 that for the second time tonight, the report of my death will be greatly exaggerated.
What would you have on your breakfast toast? Orange marmalade where tart and sweet commingle, or blackberry jam evoking memories of that cool early morning walk through the woods? Apple butter fragrant as an autumn orchard? The ruby flash of currant jelly or strawberry jam? But why choose only one? Serve them all. Grace the breakfast table with a symphony of delicious taste and luscious color. Stir up appetites. Start the morning right. Supply quick energy for an active day. Yes, brighten up the breakfast toast with preserves, jellies, and jams brought to you by those packers of the finest foods, the preserve industry of America. Now, naturally, these experienced packers bring you preserves packed in glass. Clean, sanitary glass safeguards wholesomeness and flavor. Crystal clear glass provides a rainbow of color on your table. Anchor glass containers and modern Anchor hocking sealing methods bring you flavor at its peak. Anchor glass containers and Anchor caps are both products of Anchor hocking. The most famous name in glass.
Okay now, Casey?
No, sure, Ethelbert. That bullet only grazed my forehead.
Yeah, well, if it had struck you only a half an inch deeper.
Well, as Britt Hutchins will tell you, Annie, many a horse has lost the race by half an inch. And I think, as a matter of fact, this bandage is very becoming. So is the little hospital nurse who put it on.
It isn't, and she wasn't.
Annie, you shouldn't be like that, not to an invalid.
Tell me, Casey, what did Hutchins have to say when they got him down to headquarters?
Well, he confessed that he killed Marlin because his jockey friend had double-crossed him.
That was a hot one.
You see, he made Cass Marlin a little proposition.
Cass was to ride Corn Popper and lose.
Yeah.
Corn Popper?
Yeah. Well, that was the last horse Cass rode before he died. Corn Popper was a comparatively unimportant horse, Ethelbert, in a comparatively unimportant quarter-mile race. So attention was centered on Fireball in the big Alderstone Trophy.
Well, to cut off the alibis, Ethelbert, instead of riding Corn Popper to lose, as he'd promised Hutchins, Cass Marlin brought him in first. And Hutchins lost every dollar he'd been able to beg, borrow, or steal. So his feelings were hurt, and he killed Marlin.
Cass had told his gal about the play, and she witnessed the shooting, so Hutchins had to get her, too.
And when he finally caught up with her, she was being confidential with Casey. Well, you know the rest.
Yeah, you better be careful about making pickups from now on, Casey.
I'll say he had.
Oh, I don't know. I have my moments.
Yeah, but like my sister Edna says, quote, you can never tell when one moment's gonna be the next.
Oh, no.
Yeah, unquote.
Crime Photographer, starring Stotts Cotsworth as Casey, is brought to you each Thursday by the Anchor Hocking Glass Corporation, makers of Fire King Oven Glass, Anchor Glass Containers, Anchor Caps and Closures. All products of Anchor Hocking, the most famous name in glass. Photographer is directed by John Deese. The original music is by Archie Blyer, and the program features Miss Jan Miner as Anne and John Gibson as Ethelbert. Herman Chittison is the Blue Note pianist. This is Tony Marvin saying goodnight for the Anchor Hocking Glass Corporation of Lancaster, Ohio, with offices in all principal cities of the United States and Canada. Thursday night on CBS is the biggest show in town. So stay tuned for exciting dramatizations on Reader's Digest Radio Edition, which follows immediately over most of these stations. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
This, I believe. Edward Hulton is publisher of a group of England's most important magazines and periodicals. Outstanding among these is Picture Post, with a circulation of 1.5 million. This magazine has been credited with being an important factor in the success of the British Labour Party, though its publisher is himself a conservative. A current Hulton project is the conversion of the village of Salperton into a model agricultural community. This is Edward Holton's creed.
I consider that mankind has reached a great crossroads. I think this because I believe that man possesses a free will, and that consequently he is at all times in a position from which he can march to good or to evil. Some eminent historians have been proclaiming in recent years that we are caught in an age of decadence, and that Western, or European civilization at least, is decayed beyond all possible repair. But do they appreciate that civilization has now become a world force, and can hardly be thought of within such narrow expressions as the West? Furthermore, this is the beginning, and not the end, of an age in which all social classes and all races are for the first time gradually becoming of full significance in the body politic. Again, machinery is only now being perfected, with all its possibilities for good or for evil. Lastly, these historical philosophers tend to look upon men and women and civilizations entirely as if they were but plants, blooming one day and decaying or dead the next. Well, they are somewhat like plants, only I believe that men and women possess a soul. Thus they have the free will to build their own future. One of the greatest faults of the present age lies in a presumptuous effort to step out of the framework of the natural. The too superstitious faith of our grandfathers gave way to an unquestioning belief that science can accomplish anything. Yet science cannot escape the mandates of the natural and the divine. The most fundamental evil of communism is its attempt to step beyond the inescapable framework of nature. Today people are beginning to understand that in spite of scientific advances, the position of man is by no means altogether happy, and not necessarily getting happier. This is not only because the atom bomb may put an end to human life altogether. People are beginning to realize that life itself is becoming more and more artificial and false. As for learned men, are they today much more than mere technical specialists? They are not true, integrated men like Goethe or Shakespeare. As for ordinary people, they are becoming more and more crowded into artificial towns in which beauty is absent, performing unrewarding tasks and enjoying, or at least attending, ever more artificial amusements. The very food which they eat is less and less natural. What shall we do to be saved? I believe that if men and women want the right things, in the end they will achieve them. There is a great hope that leaders will arise who will make use of the great natural and sane force of the working classes and so-called primitive, but comparatively natural races, in order to lead mankind back to a more natural way of life. Our new leaders will need to possess a vision of the divine, which to my mind is the same as Plato's vision of the ideal.
That was Edward Holton, a foremost English publisher and politician whose reforming zeal enlarges the scope of his activities into many diverse fields.
Crime does not pay.
For the last time, Matthew, there'll be no bookmaking in my candy store.
Says you, Uncle Dave.
Yeah, says you. Ain't gonna stop us, Uncle. I'll stop you. I'll have a talk with Officer Conlon.
I wouldn't try that, Uncle Dave.
Stay away from me, you young hoodlum. Stay away. If my brother's boy should turn out like this.
Afraid, Uncle Dave, of your own nephew?
Keep away, you hear? Keep away.
Don't, Joey.
You fat rat.
Watch where you're walking, Uncle.
Don't touch me. Don't touch.
Perfect, Joey. Same old teamwork. Right over your back he went. Like we used to do with sissies in school.
Yeah, same old trick. Only he ain't getting nothing. Running away.
Uncle Dave, get up.
Hey, he ain't moving. Must have hit his head. Knocked him out or something.
He hit his head, all right. Hey, we better get out of here. He's dead.
In the interest of citizenship and law enforcement, we present Crime Does Not Pay,
based on the famous Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer series of short subjects. In just a moment, you will hear Murder Makes Book, starring Joseph Wiseman. Now, Crime Does Not Pay, starring Joseph Wiseman as Matt Red Thompson in Murder Makes Book. He was born and grew up in a slum. Red Thompson was a boy in the gutter, literally as well as figuratively. There he made friends with Joey Goodwin and Lazy Clayton. They became a unit, those three, and whether their immediate pursuit was tormenting their school teacher as long as they stayed in school, or swiping fruit from an open counter, Red was the leader, Lazy the echo, and Joey the efficient assistant. When they were full grown, the activities changed, but the pattern remained the same. It was Red who planned the escapades, Red who saw no way out for them through legitimate channels, Red who found the easy way to get hold of money. And it was Red who decided when it was time to collect their winnings from a character named Bookie.
Okay, Bookie, pay off.
Yeah, Bookie, pay off.
Okay, boys, you don't have to take it like that. You won, didn't you? So you get $8 off.
How much?
Leg paid $3.40. Here's the Mazuma.
Hey, not bad at all. No, not bad. Should have put up more. Where from? I had to go to the old lady sugar bowl even for this. Yeah, where from? You got to put back? I get the old man on me with a strap if I don't. Hear that, Joey? Yeah. Okay, so put it back. Still got plenty for change.
Why don't you kids get smart?
We're smart. We ain't working, are we?
Neither am I. But I don't take no risks.
What do you mean?
I pay off to you, see? But for every bet I pay off, I got a dozen I don't pay off on. So you get your $3.40. Me, I get about 10 times that. Even after I pay protection.
Hey, not bad. What protection, Bookie?
To Lou Kingsley. He controls making book in his territory, see? You don't pay off to Kingsley, you wind up in a cement jacket. Maybe I got a racket, see, but Kingsley, 100 bookies pay off to him. Say, $10 a day. That's $1,000 a day in Kingsley's pocket. Catch? Think about it, kids. I was hungry. I hate to see smart kids getting played for suckers. See you around, boys. Don't take no wooden nickels.
Suckers? That's what we are, suckers. Yeah, suckers. I never saw it like that before. Is Bookie any smarter than we are? He's got more dough. Then he's smarter. We can be smart, too. Sure, we can be smart. Where we going to operate? This Kingsley ain't going to let us in his territory. Even Bookie's got an office. Can't take no bets on the street. I got all the answers. Go on, answer. Look, over on the west side, out of this neighborhood, see? I got an Uncle Dave. He runs a candy store with a back room. He's always saying I don't visit him enough. The old dope. The back room, get it? Yeah, the back room. Office. Bet you there's even a nickel telephone. There sure is. You know, guys, I think Uncle Dave is going to see a lot of me and you from now on. Like the new suit, fellas? Not bad, huh? Yeah, you sure got it cut sharp, Lazy. I don't go for purple suits myself much. I couldn't wear it neither, not with red hair. Okay, not you, but on me it's good, huh? You stand out in the crowd, yeah. Hey, Red, how's the collections? Okay, doke. We didn't pay off to nobody yesterday, so we got another C-note in the till. Hey, when do I get my cut? I got a heavy date tonight. Not today. We're building up the fund, see? So if we got to pay off, we got some dough to live with. Matthew, I want to talk to you. Uncle Dave. Sure, talk all you want.
Tell your friends to get out.
You hear that, fellas?
We heard it.
Yeah, so what? I guess the fellas don't want to go outside, Uncle Dave. They're comfortable here.
Too comfortable. Want me to say what I have to say in front of them?
Why not? We got no secrets, us guys.
Sure, no secrets.
Okay, now say it right out. When you came here, Matthew, to see me, 3 months 'tis now, I was happy to see my nephew. Now I don't care if I never see you again.
Uncle Dave, is that the way to talk to your favorite nephew?
If I had another nephew, you wouldn't be the favorite. You a bookmaker?
Oh, that's a nasty word, Uncle Dave. I don't make book, not ever.
Sure, not ever.
Yeah, what gave you that idea, Uncle?
I'm not your uncle. I'm talking to Matthew. I know what you do. Why you hang around here so much? Why you use the phone every afternoon? It stops. It stops now.
What's the matter, Uncle Dave? You want to cut it a tape?
I want you to go away. Stay away.
Is that the way to talk to your nephew?
A nice store, nice people. Children come in all the time. I'll not have hoodlums in the back.
Oh, another nasty word. Oh, this'll get you nothing, Uncle.
For the last time, Matthew, there'll be no bookmaking in my candy store.
Says you, Uncle Dave.
Yeah, says you.
How you going to stop us, Uncle?
I'll stop you. I'll have a talk with Officer Cannon.
I wouldn't try that, Uncle Dave.
Stay away from me, you young hoodlum. Stay away. That my brother's boy should turn out like this.
Afraid, Uncle Dave, of your own nephew?
Keep away, you hear? Keep away.
Down, Joey. You bet, Red.
Watch where you're walking, Uncle.
Don't touch me. Don't touch.
Perfect, Joey. Same old teamwork. Right over your back he went. Like we used to do with the sissies in school.
Yeah, same old trick, only he ain't getting up and running away. Uncle Dave, get up.
Hey, he ain't moving.
Must have hit his head. Knocked him out or something. He hit his head, all right. Hey, we better get out of here. He's dead.
All right, the three of you, sit down.
What for, Copper? We ain't staying that long.
Sit down.
Okay. We're sitting, Lieutenant.
Yeah, we're sitting, Lieutenant.
All right, never mind that. I'm no lieutenant till you know it.
Well, maybe we think you ought to be.
Tell that to the commissioner sometime.
Maybe I will.
Sometime. Maybe we will.
This I want to see. All right, you, Goodwin.
Oh, yes, sir.
Where were you Wednesday afternoon?
Me? With the fellas.
And you, Clayton?
With the fellas.
Okay. Your turn, Thompson.
I don't remember exactly where we were. Around someplace.
You weren't in your hangout, Uncle Dave's candy store?
Come to think of it, that's one place we didn't go Wednesday.
Well, Andrews, anything? Nothing, Sergeant. Just the usual. But a little extra fresh. Extra fresh, eh? How'd your baby-faced mugs like a small trip downstairs?
I wouldn't advise it, Sergeant. You got no charge against us.
How about suspicion of murder?
Murder? Who'd we murdered, Sergeant?
Your uncle. You know it.
But Uncle Dave fell. He hit his head, and the doctor said his heart gave out. Why, we even went to the funeral.
Well, or was pushed.
But, Sergeant, even if he was pushed, I don't think anyone can prove it. Uncle Dave was all alone in the store.
All right, Sugarmouth, we've had enough. Get out of here.
Yes, Sergeant. Yes, Sergeant. Yes, sir.
Stand where you are. Get this. We've had characters like you in here before by the dozen. You're all fresh and cocky your first visit. After a while, you all come down a peg or two. Finally, you wind up in the precinct tank. Or you get it in the others in your own little rotten rackets. Bear that in mind. Now beat it fast.
Funny kind of cops. Let us out like this.
Yeah, funny.
Save it till we hit the street.
Yeah, the house with the green lights precinct cops, 2 for a nickel.
You got anything, Red?
They got nothing, not even brains.
Yeah, not even brains. Maybe we better lay low for a while.
Lay low? Are you crazy? Joey, from now on, we're going to expand.
Oh, Luke Kingsley, here we come.
Smooth. Nothing to do but count the dough.
Yeah, count the dough.
Except when some sucker hits one. Then we gotta count it out.
So what? So once in a while we get hit, we pay. So the suckers like us. They keep coming back.
Do they, kid? That's good. Yeah, okay. So you think you're glad to see me, huh? Okay.
Well, you tipped us to this racket, didn't you?
Now I got another tip for you. Straight from the feed bag.
A winner? For the market?
Shut up, Lazy. Keep talking, Bookie.
This is from Kingsley.
Since when you so lovey-dovey with the big shot?
He knows I started in business, so he sent me.
Yeah? So keep talking.
He wants you out of town.
What are you talking?
Says Kingsley. He also says, and by the way, that your crazy operation has the heat on for everybody, so out. Quick. By tomorrow.
Like this, just like this. Out, he says. So we're supposed to run.
Take my advice, kid. Kingsley's rough to tangle with.
You want an answer?
No. Why should he?
Gonna get one. Now, Joe.
Jack.
How'd you like a little pratfall, Bookie, like this?
Let me
Let him have it, fellas. You can take a couple of flat guys, a busted rip back to his boss for our answer. Get out, says King. We're staying, says Red Thompson.
In just a moment, Crime Does Not Pay will continue with Murder Makes Book. Now we continue with Crime Does Not Pay, starring Joseph Wiseman as Matt Red Thompson in Murder Makes Book. Red, Lazy, and Joey left Bookie sprawled on the sidewalk and went about their business. They heard no more from Lou Kingsley, and their operation settled into the usual pattern, expanding in the usual way, until Rhythm was the head of an outfit with its own bookmakers in many spots throughout the city. Lazy's main job was collecting the daily tribute. Red and Joey were waiting for him on their usual street corner early one evening.
Lazy a little late.
What's the matter? You nervous or something, Joey?
Nervous. What for?
I don't know. You act like you got an itch or something.
Just thinking.
Thinking what?
It's awful funny. Kingsley never did nothing after we gave the business to Bookie. The cops, they ain't done nothing either.
Cops got to have evidence, which they ain't got. Quit it, Joey. Everything's under control. Even Lazy. Hey, Lazy! Step on it. Joey's got a date tonight.
All right, keep your pants on.
Hey, look at that crazy bum drive.
It's the fire engine.
What's the matter, Red?
I don't know.
Hit the street, Joey. It's Kingsley. They got lazy. They got lazy. They get you, Joey. They get you. No, not okay. They got lazy. They got lazy. Let's get it quick. Still breathing, Red?
Dead. They cut him almost in half.
I told you it was funny. Kingsley never did nothing. I told you. Shut up! Look at us, too.
If we get them first.
Get them. Who?
Kingsley. Now, if he gets something. Some joker for the cops. Let's go, Joey. Nothing we can do for Lazy now.
Well, I'll come in, Mr. Thompson. Glad to see you again.
Hiya, Doc.
Sit down.
Thanks. Well, Doc, what's the bad news?
Well, there isn't any, young man.
I don't get it.
There's nothing to get. There just isn't any news.
What you said, the lab reports, all the tests and stuff.
Everything's negative. I'd say that was good news, not bad.
Yeah, I suppose. Oh, maybe it's good news, Doc, but it sure don't stop this bellyache.
We're in the same place, Mr. Thompson.
Yeah, only bigger.
Frankly, I don't know what to tell you. There seems to be pain now.
It seems to be. Doc, you don't know. You ain't got it.
Yet our complete examination is negative.
Oh.
You seem to be in perfect health.
But you think I'm making this up?
Such things have happened before. Perhaps a psychiatrist.
Oh, no, not me. Not one of them.
I'm afraid there's nothing more I can do.
Oh, you gotta do something, Doc. You gotta. I can't stand much more.
No, for a young fellow, you seem to worry a great deal about your health.
Oh, you know, my father used to say, when you got your health, you got everything. Oh, Doc, look, maybe a hospital.
What for? Because I said you're not sick.
I ain't sick, but I got pains. Look, I was thinking if they watched me in the hospital, maybe they could find it.
For observation, you mean?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's the way.
It's expensive, Mr.
Oh, what do I care for money? Doc, look, get me a room, will you? A private room. Let the docs work over me. Maybe they can find what's making me sick.
Well, Mr. Thompson, all alone?
Yes, nurse, until you came in.
What happened to your friend? Mr. Goodwin, I believe his name is.
He beat it. I mean, he left early. He had a date.
He must have been in a hurry. He usually stops at my desk to say goodnight.
Joey got a heavy date tonight. He was in a hurry.
Well, that's all to the good. I can get you settled for the night early. We have a busy floor tonight.
And I'm not so sick?
I don't think you're sick at all. I think you came here just for a rest.
No, you do you? Hey, what's your name? I just can't keep calling you nurse all the time.
Why not? There. Is that better?
Still better if I knew your name.
It's Tabor. You want fresh water in the jug?
Just Tabor, no first name?
Nurses never have first names, Mr. Thompson. Now you go to sleep. Good night.
Okay, Joey, you can come out now.
Hey, that's a cute one. I wouldn't mind staying in the closet if she was in it with me.
All right, save the jokes, Joey. You got the heaters?
Bet your life.
Okay, now keep an eye on the hole outside. As soon as the coast is clear, we'll get going.
How much longer, Red? Dogs are barking something fierce.
Not long.
You dragged me all over town looking for Kingsley. It's 2 a.m. when you found him yet.
He always winds up at the hash house across the street. We just wait here.
What about the hospital?
I'm sleeping like a little angel. Nobody go near the room. You heard the dame. We've a busy floor tonight.
But you gotta get back.
I'm safe till 7. He's our pigeon. Cookie's with him. Ready?
Ready.
You know the routine.
Don't worry about that.
Okay, hold tight, Joey. This one's a cinch. All right, Kingsley, Cookie, don't move your hands. Get into that alley.
Oh, it's the kids, boss.
Joey, keep your feet on Bookie. Move, Kingsley.
This way.
Keep going. Don't get too close. Okay, face that wall.
What do you want, Thompson? If it's money...
I don't do ice jobs for money.
Red, don't try nothing. Cut out, Bookie. If it's not money...
It's you. You cut lazy down. Now you're getting it, both of you.
No. I got a wife and kids now. You'll never get away with it. The cops know about you.
They'll never get this on me. You don't know it, Kingsley, but I'm so sick. I'm in a hospital right now. Matter of fact, the way we fixed my bed, it looks like I'm sound asleep, don't it, Joey?
Yeah. Let's get it over with, Red. Stop the gagging.
All right, sure. This bum knows why he's getting it.
Boys, please, I don't know.
Shut up. Now you, Kingsley, right in the kidneys. That's it, Joey. Let's go. I hope he liked that. Getting it in the kidneys broke his back knee, didn't it?
laugh, Joey, a laugh. I got all the doctors in this joint trying to figure out what's giving me pains, which I ain't got.
You sure got a perfect alibi.
I'll leave it to Red Joey from now.
Well, how's the patient today?
Cops. Well, Sergeant, or is it Lieutenant by now?
Not yet, but pretty soon. After I get Kingsley's killer. You remember Detective Andrews?
Oh, sure. Hi.
You don't look sick, Thompson.
Oh, but I got terrible pains. None of the docs can find out what it is. Did you say Kingsley's killer, Sergeant?
That's what I said. Kingsley got in the back last night. And Bookie with him.
Well, what do you know? Stuck here in bed and I don't hear anything.
Didn't your pal tell you?
I didn't know nothing about it.
The papers are full of it.
So he's been here all day with me.
Here with you last night, too?
Joey had a date last night. He left early.
Interesting. Joey could have done it for you.
I didn't do nothing. Just had a date.
Oh, it...
I don't need no alibi. You leave my girl alone.
Well. Little gentleman. Thompson, where were you last night about 2 a.m.?
Right here. The night stuck me in around 9. The day nights woke me up at 7 this morning.
I've had about all I can take. Haven't you, Andrews?
Yeah, check, Sergeant.
Miss Tabor, will you come in, please?
Hey, here it goes, Red. Hold your horses, Joe. Ain't nothing goes.
Miss Tabor, please tell Mr. Thompson what you told me when I spoke to you a little while ago.
Why, that is, it's a custom here to look in on patients before we go off duty. I checked Mr. Thompson about 1:30 this morning. He wasn't in his bed.
I went down the hall.
But he had the pillows arranged under the blankets to look as if he were in his bed.
Well, you know good,
Shut up, you. We've got you cold. We talked to your pal's girl before we came here. She never saw him last night. The slugs we took out of Kingsley and Bookie will match your gun. You'll both fry. I only wish I could promise him, Thompson, but one will do as well as the other. Now get up and get dressed. You're sick, you can go back to bed in the prison ward at City Hospital.
You got no case, you got nothing.
Andrews, take the other one downtown. I think we'll get something out of him.
No, I didn't shoot nobody.
He'll burn anyway, whether he pulled the trigger or not.
Sergeant, look, I didn't shoot nobody. But I saw it. I saw everything. I was there.
Shut up,
Joey. You want what Kingsley got?
Been wanting to suck that punk for a long time. Nurse, you call an orderly. We'll get some clothes on him and start him on his way. Now that his pal has decided to sing.
Crime does not pay. Joseph Wiseman, who was starred as Red Thompson in Murder Makes Book, will be back with you in just a moment. Here in person is Joseph Wiseman.
I think it is worth examining, for a moment, the background against which Red and his friends grew up. It's a sadly familiar background to everyone. A slum with all its rotten conditions. Above all, with all its hopelessness. Of course, we cannot say simply wipe out slums and we'll wipe out crime and the temptations to crime. But once our slums are gone, a great deal of our crime, certainly the major portion of our juvenile delinquency, will have gone with them. Yes, this will be expensive, but no more expensive in proportion than a successful operation on one individual to remove a malignancy. Meanwhile, to continue the medical metaphor, the palliative costs go on. Police, special courts, property damage and maintenance. Above all, the millions siphoned each year out of channels of legitimate business into the pockets of organized crime. It is true, isn't it? For everyday citizens as well as for criminals, crime does not pay.
Thank you, Mr. Wiseman. Fay is written by Ira Marion and directed by Mark B. Loeb, with music composed and conducted by John Gart. Technical advisor is Burton B. Turkis. The events, characters, and names used in the story you've just heard are fictitious. Any similarity is purely coincidental.
Calling all detectives. When a music writer died violently, the only clue was a scrap of paper with some musical symbols. A musical key to murder. That is the situation on this page from my casebook. The casebook of Jerry Browning, private detective. Take it from me, Jerry Browning, private detective. Solving a crime is like playing music. You've got to start with the right key. The man who walked into my office was fat, 50-ish, and agitated.
Mr. Browning, I'm Guy Ritchie, the music publisher.
I nodded. I know who you are, Mr. Ritchie. Saw your picture in last night's paper. You're the man Alan Avery worked for. Committed suicide. Shot himself right in your office, didn't he?
Suicide, my eye! The papers and the police can call it that, but I'm not holding still for it. Alan Avery was a top pop man in my staff. I paid him a fat salary and a percentage in royalties. He's written a lot of hit tunes. He's made a lot of money. I know he's never been in debt, so that rules out that angle.
Well, what about his health, emotional status?
Never sick a day in the 8 years I've known him. Emotionally, well, maybe a little moody, temperamental. You expect that in a songwriter. But believe me, Browning, Alan Avery wasn't the kind of person who'd take his own life.
Yet the evidence... Ritchie threw out a pudgy hand.
Evidence, my foot! The police base a suicide theory on the fact that Alan just wrote a torch tune. I can't face my heart. The next line is, unless you say yes to my arms. Clever, huh? But right away, everybody figures it's a farewell note, especially since he and his wife separated about a month ago. Why, even that was about patched up. You see, she's a classical musician, and their temperaments clashed a little. But now, Browning, here's an important thing.
He reached into his wallet, fished out a scrap of paper. On it was scribbled 5 lines, the treble clef, and the musical symbol of a sharp on the top line.
That was found below Alan's body. I think he left it as a dying message, but the reporters and the cops only laughed at my idea. Browning, as sure as I'm sitting here, this is the key to Alan's murder.
With nothing more than a scrap of paper to go on, I was hired to prove that what looked like suicide was actually murder. I told Ritchie that before I investigated the piece of paper with its musical symbols, I wanted to talk to Mrs. Avery. Ritchie gave me her address, said I was to handle the case any way I saw fit. Then he told me why he was willing to hire a private detective.
Alan Avery helped make my success. He came to me 8 years ago with that song called Do You Remember November? I published it. It was a hit, and I was big time. And this last tune, I Can't Face My Heart, be another smash. I kind of figure I owe something to Avery.
I drove away, thinking that after all, there are some nice people in the world. And after I met Mrs. Avery, I was practically convinced of it. She was tall and slender, with a kind of silvery blonde hair that ought to look awful good behind footlights. She told me that there had been a reconciliation between her and Alan, and she had intended to give up her career as a harpist with the Granton Concert Orchestra Group. Only she'd made a decision too late to stop her husband from doing away with himself. And this was interesting. Mrs. Avery, professional name Francesca Sutton, believed Alan had committed suicide. I showed her the scrap of paper. Francesca puzzled over it for a minute, then handed it back with a sad smile. In her opinion, it was meaningless, just a sample of a musician's doodling. I drove back to my office, brooded over that scrap of paper. Then I went to the Aeolian building. Guy Ritchie seemed a little surprised to see me.
You're a fast worker, Browning. What have you got to report?
Not too much, Mr. Ritchie. I've analyzed this bit of paper for every possible meaning. And with your cooperation, we'll try some tests. Look, these symbols, the lines, the sharp, and the treble sign, what do they mean to you?
Why, the key of G, of course.
That's what they mean to me, too. So, let's have it, Mr. Ritchie.
Have what, Browning? I don't know what you're talking about.
The key, Mr. Ritchie, the key. Your first name is Guy. That means the initial G. Therefore, the key of G. Get it?
Hey, that's mighty clever. Could be I hold the key to, a safety deposit box I shared with Allen, eh? Slick detecting, I call it. Only I don't have any keys except to my office, my car, and my house. So what's next, Mr. Browning?
Well, I put my brain into reverse and came up with another little gem of reasoning. These musical symbols are also known as characters, and the whole drawing could be interpreted as a staff. Maybe with the last of his strength, Allen was trying to tell you it was some character on your staff who's the killer. How about it, Mr. Ritchie? Anyone here fit the description? Ritchie grinned.
Browning, everybody on my staff is a character. But wait, I'll let you see for yourself.
He pushed some buttons on his desk. The door flew open, and his staff members came in. Ritchie was right. They were characters. His secretary was a cute little gum-chewing hepcat. According to her, she could dig that I was strictly gone, but she was no square either. Someday she'd be a BTO, too. English translation, big-time operator. I shook the fog out of my brain and went to work on the next candidate. This was Ritchie's lyricist, a lad named Thorpe. I'm sure he even thought in rhyme. Avery muttered, well, I can't imagine why. Don't look at me, I've got an alibi. Was at the Carter house for dinner, left there at 8, went to a movie, and you can prove it by my date. That's how it went. One weirdie after another, and each with an unshakable story, a strict accounting for the time in which Avery died, and no reason for killing him. My face was as red as a poll taker's the day after election. I left the Aeolian building, stood down on the street, still staring at that scrap of paper. Suddenly, I had it. The symbol for the key of G was F-sharp. I was so engrossed in my latest deduction that I didn't see the boy on the bike until it was too late. It was a Western Union messenger who'd run into me. I picked myself and him up. He was not happy.
Why don't you throw your dreaming someplace else, mister? If you knocked me into the street under a car, I'd be playing a harp by now.
Then it really hit. I yanked a bill out of my pocket, tossed it to the boy, and was in my car and nothing flat. I found Mrs. Avery, also known as Francesca Sutton, at her apartment and surrounded by half-filled suitcases. Right on top of one of the cases was a fat bundle of securities. Figuring on leaving town, Mrs. Avery? She didn't have to answer. The look on her face was guilt in large letters. You knew I'd figure it out finally, didn't you? The F for Francesca, and the sharp symbol, S for Sutton, and H-A-R-P, harp. That scrap of paper named you as your husband's killer. Let's go, Mrs. Avery. You're under arrest for murder. She fought it for a while, but the evidence against her was too great. All that stuff about a reconciliation was nonsense, intended to lull his suspicions until she could set the stage for murder, in order to get over $20,000 in securities that he owned. She'd walked into Avery's office, shot him, and taken the securities, certain that the death would be considered suicide. But as he was dying, Avery penciled that scrawl, and in the end, it sent her to the chair. Like I said, the real key to a crime is always evident, even though it may at first sound like a wrong note. Listen next time to Calling All Detectives, mystery drama, mystery quiz, and a chance for you to match wits with yours truly, Jerry Browning, Private Detective.
Murder at midnight.
Don't be too sure about that, Wentworth. What do you mean? Don't forget that skeleton there. He was once a man, too. Until he was trapped in here or murdered. What of it? Oh, nothing. Nothing except this.
Midnight, the witching hour when the night is darkest, our fears the strongest, and our strength at its lowest ebb. Midnight, when the graves gape open and death strikes. How? You'll learn the answer in just a minute in The Line is Dead. Murder at Midnight. Tales of Mystery and Terror by radio's masters of the macabre. Our story by Faith Blau is The Line is Dead. The gash in the green lawn of Brookside Memorial Park awaits the body of Albert Lockridge, scientist and explorer. There are few who have followed him to his last resting place, for Albert Lockridge was not one who was prodigal with his affection. And so, beside the yawning grave stands his wife, Lenore.
Albert.
Finishing the short service, the minister says,
And so, unto dust you are now committed. You may lower the casket.
Strong hands grasp the straps attached to the coffin. The pulleys sing their discordant dirge, a strange melody, heard over the soft weeping of Lenore Lockridge. Suddenly...
Listen, knocking in the coffin. Albert, we hear you. We know you're alive.
Raise the casket. Raise the casket. Yes, sir.
He is all right, isn't he, Dr. George?
He seems to be, but...
But what?
Well, you can't blame me if I'm a little hesitant in giving my opinion.
You mean you're not sure that he will?
Yes.
Oh.
After all, Mrs. Lockridge, my position is a little awkward. I signed the death certificate feeling certain that your husband was dead. And now I'm naturally reluctant to predict just what course his convalescence will take.
I think I understand. The only thing that really matters is that my husband's lying in his bed at home and not in the cold, black earth of Brookside. Isn't that true?
Yeah, you're a very sensible woman.
Albert will get better.
Probably. But we'll have to watch his heart.
His heart?
These strange spells when his heart seems to stop, when I thought it had stopped. Each attack is an added strain.
But the strain of regaining consciousness in the coffin, he withstood that when even a healthy person might not have.
Oh, he's a hard person to kill.
Oh, thank goodness for that.
Well, this time it was a pretty close call. If he'd come to even 10 minutes later, Mrs. Lockridge, no one would have ever known.
Albert.
Lenore, is that you?
Albert, the doctor says you'll be fine if you'll only rest.
I can't rest. I've got to ask you a question.
Dear, you've been through so much, too much for any one person, so save any questions you may.
No, this question can't wait. That sealed envelope, Lenore. The one on my desk.
The one I'm supposed to read after your...
Yes, after I'm dead. Lenore, you haven't read it, have you?
No, Albert. I planned to read it after the funeral, just as you told me to.
Sure? You haven't read it?
Of course.
Get it for me. I want to see for myself.
Albert, no, you've so little strength.
But I must know.
You will.
I must know now. Because if you read it, I don't want to live.
Albert, I swear I haven't. Please believe me.
You saw it?
No. Look at me. You can see I'm telling the truth. Look at me.
Yes. Yes, I think you are telling the truth. Mr. Lockridge, another few days, and we'll have you out of that wheelchair.
Sometimes I wonder why you go to all this trouble with me, Doctor.
It's my job.
Yes, but there's so many people who really enjoy life and yet die. Twice now I've been pronounced dead, only to return to life, almost reluctantly.
Reluctantly?
Yes.
You tried awfully hard to get out of the coffin.
The sheer horror of being buried alive. I've always been terrified of it.
Since childhood?
Yes. My nurse locked me in a closet whenever I misbehaved. I always thought I'd be left to die there. Oh, it's not the fact of being dead that bothers me. It's the fear of being buried alive. It's the choking, the futility of crying out.
Yes, it would be a horrible way to die, but...
Excuse me, Doctor. There's a Mr. Burton here to see you, Mr. Lockridge.
Good. Show him in, nurse.
Nurse, take our patient out on the sun porch. I'll send his visitor there.
Mr. Lockridge?
Sit down, Mr. Burton.
Thank you.
Nurse, if you don't mind.
Not at all. If you need me, just call.
Now, Mr. Burton, as I understand your business...
I'm a telephone engineer, specializing in special types of telephone systems.
Yes. Perhaps you've read about me in the paper.
Yeah, sure I have. You're the guy who came back from the grave.
Yes, I'm the guy who came back from the grave. And it strikes me, Mr. Burton, that an occasion might again arise when I might want to do the same thing. That's why I called you.
Come again?
Sometime a doctor again may pronounce me dead. Perhaps I will be, perhaps I won't. And if I'm not, I'd like to feel that I could call for help.
I don't get it.
Mr. Burton, in case it should happen again, I'd like you to install a private telephone from this house to my grave. And Lenore, you must promise to keep the phone installed and in working condition for a year after I'm buried.
A year? Darling, that doesn't make any sense.
With a stop-and-go heart of mine doesn't make any sense either.
But, Albert, a year?
The first time my heart stopped for 6 hours. The next time, nearly 2 days. Who can tell?
Well, a week, a month, perhaps.
I think I'm asking very little.
Well, then think of me, darling. Think of waiting day in and day out for the ring of that telephone. Think of the jumping at every stray bell, at every noise. Darling, you're condemning me to a slow death, like being in a grave above ground.
I still think my request is a modest one, and the least that a wife who loved her husband would do for him.
Albert, don't start that again.
After all, I shall be in my grave. Perhaps I shall be waiting, too, waiting for help that will never come.
Will you please stop this morbid talk? Nothing else seems to be on your mind lately. Besides, it's terribly late, almost midnight.
When death comes to a man slowly, he gets time to think about it. Too much time.
Stop it, please.
It seems to me that you are only too anxious to get rid of me.
Albert, how can you even think such a thing after... I've been a good wife, haven't I?
Yes, but you might have made Oliver Wentworth an even better one.
Albert, please don't bring that up again.
What would have happened if Oliver had come back from that expedition with me?
I don't know.
You would have married him, wouldn't you?
Perhaps, I don't know. No.
How can you say that? You were engaged to him, weren't you?
An engagement doesn't always mean marriage.
You did intend to marry him, didn't you?
Of course I did. What of it? You know I intended to.
And you only changed your mind because he was killed. That's why you turned towards me.
Well...
I was nothing in your life.
You were very sweet to me, Albert, then. I could see that you loved me in your peculiar way. I appreciated everything you did for me.
Appreciate?
Oh, Albert, why dig looking for a sore spot? It's not fair to me or to you.
I was nothing in your life, was I? As long as Oliver was alive.
What are you trying to prove?
All the time we've spent together, I've played second fiddle to Oliver Wentworth.
Look, Albert Lockridge, when we married, I said I'd put all thoughts of Oliver out of my mind. Well, I've done it. At least?
At least what? You mean you've tried, but you couldn't.
Oh.
I knew it. You've never loved me. He's always been in your heart.
What are you talking about?
You just said it. If I had died, you would never have given me another thought. But all the time, here, in my own house, he's been living his own memory, haunting you, haunting us. I can't go on like this. This just can't go on. I've struggled with him long enough. He's got to go. No matter what I have to do to crush his memory, I've got to kill it. I've got...
Albert.
Lenore.
What is it?
Lenore, help me. To the chair, my heart.
I've got you. Now, slowly.
No,
Slowly?
I don't think I can make it.
Of course you can. Of course you can. You've got to.
No, but I can't.
Absolutely, Mrs. Lockridge. And this time the two heart specialists agree with me.
But, Doctor, in view of what happened before...
We've tried to take that into consideration. But even so...
Well, can't you postpone signing the certificate?
I'm sorry, Mrs. Lockridge. My colleagues and I all agree that your husband is dead. There can be no delay.
Very well, Doctor. Thank you for everything.
Goodbye, Mrs. Lockridge.
Goodbye, Doctor. Hello? Mr. Burton? This is Mrs. Lockridge speaking. My husband died yesterday. He's to be buried tomorrow at Brookside. Will you please be there as he desired to install a telephone in his grave?
A man who was afraid, not of death, but of being buried alive. A telephone to a sealed grave, and the great beyond. Will we hear from Albert Lockridge again before the clock strikes 12 for...
Murder at midnight.
And now, back to Murder at Midnight and The Line is Dead.
One minute. Oh, Dr. George.
Good evening, Mrs. Lockridge.
Awfully nice of you to call.
I was worried about you.
Oh, I'm all right. I'm fine.
I couldn't come to the funeral. I tried to phone you, but...
The phone's disconnected.
So they said. And so I came over. I rang the bell several times. No answer either. Finally, I knocked.
I've had the doorbell disconnected, too.
You mustn't cut yourself off from the world like this, Mrs. Lockridge.
Believe me, Doctor, that's not my intention. As long as I stand guard at this telephone, I want to be sure that the only bell that ever rings in this house is the one that tells me that Albert's not dead, that he's still alive there in his coffin, that he needs help.
You're really going through with this?
He asked me to. It doesn't seem too much.
Oh, you're only deluding yourself, Mrs. Lockridge, believe me. Waiting this way is only a perverse and completely futile sort of mourning.
I know you can't understand.
I can't. But I do know that this morbid watch will only deepen your grief. Prevent you from making any kind of adjustment to his death.
What difference does it
Now,
make?
you're a young woman, Mrs. Lockridge. You have a whole life ahead of you.
All the more reason for spending some of it as he wanted me to. Doctor, my husband was not the sort of person who inspired affection.
I know.
But in his odd, sometimes unaccountable way, he did love me. Now that he's gone, no one on earth holds any fond memories of him but me.
A heavy responsibility, Mrs. Lockridge. Still, you must take care of yourself.
I will, Doctor.
Assume that he is dead. Mourn him as you will, but don't live in a state of suspended animation. For instance, if he's left a will, don't put off reading it.
There are some papers which I was supposed to read after his death. They're in a sealed envelope in his desk.
Read them. Read them immediately.
No, not yet.
You should. Perhaps they'll contain some message of comfort. Get the envelope now.
Not now, Dr. George, but very soon. Just a moment. Yes? Oh.
Lenore.
Oh, no. No, it can't.
It is. I know I shouldn't have come just like this without warning.
But I've always thought...
That I was dead? Yes, I know.
That's what Albert told me, and you never came back.
No.
Why?
It's a long story, Lenore. A story you ought to hear.
You know that Albert died yesterday?
I know. That's why I came.
Why didn't you come sooner when he was alive? Were you afraid to meet him?
I was afraid to meet you.
Me? Why, Oliver?
By the time I returned, you and Albert were already married.
But even so, we both would have welcomed...
I wonder. You see, I knew you thought I was dead. No good would have come of such a meeting. But now everything is different.
Different?
Yes, of course. I loved you then. I love you now.
Oliver.
I've come back for you.
Oliver, you don't understand. How can I even think of such things today?
Lenore, I had to come. I've waited so long. I couldn't wait a day longer.
Can't you see? It's useless even to think about that now. He may still be alive.
I know.
No, it's not right to speak as you do. Not today.
I was afraid you'd think so. Lenore, I wanted to avoid this, but now I see I must tell you. Lenore, neither of us knew Albert Lockridge.
After all, Oliver, I've lived with him.
I still don't think you ever really knew him. I never did, even though I worked with him for many years. That is, until the day we stood in the great hall of the old Aztec temple. The temple we found on that last expedition. The one from which I was not supposed to come back from. We were trying to find a door to an inner chamber.
There must be an opening here somewhere, Wentworth. In every Aztec temple ever found, there was always a room near the altar used to keep ceremonial objects.
I know. Now, wait a minute. Sounds like a little hollow here. Now, what about that slab on the floor?
What about it?
I think that it might... Certainly sounds different. If I were an Aztec priest and I stepped on it like this...
Wentworth, the door! We found the door!
Solid stone. And still working after all these centuries. Let's take a look inside.
You got the flashlight?
Yes, take the hammer.
Right.
Uh-oh. It's not very pretty. It is a human skeleton, isn't it?
Yes.
Probably trapped in here and left to die.
Ugly death.
Look, Lockridge. Those dishes.
Swing the flashlight over. Gold. Solid gold.
There are more over here. Look, stacks of them.
That's them. We found the treasure.
Now, wait a minute, Lockridge. Let's get this straight. In the first place, I don't think we'd be let out of the country with these gold plates.
Oh, but we can melt them down and smuggle them out.
Melt them down? Well, these things are priceless. Besides, the university sent us here. If the gold belongs to anyone, it's theirs.
No one ever has to know.
Oh, yes, they do, because I'll tell them.
Huh? It's all very well for you to play the heroic fool. You've everything you want.
What the devil do you mean?
You know perfectly well. You've got all the money you need. Besides, you have Lenore.
What's she got to do with it?
You do have Lenore, haven't you?
You act as if I took her from you.
You were afraid of me.
Oh, Lockridge, don't be an idiot. Lenore would no more look at you
than... Oh, wouldn't she? She'd marry me if you weren't in the way. I know it.
Oh, you fool. She's just being friendly to you because I asked her.
We'll see. If you weren't around...
But I am around. And as far as the gold plates are concerned...
I said we'll see. After all, that skeleton there, he was once a man, too. Until he was trapped in here.
What of it?
Oh, nothing. Nothing. Nothing except...
I was there in the dark. Flashlight, the gold plate's gone. Left there to die. Trapped behind a stone door.
Oh, no, Oliver, no.
When Albert Lockridge closed that door, in his heart, in his twisted brain, there was only one intention. Murder.
But how did you get out?
By luck more than anything else. I had the hammer and I knew where the stone latch was. I started chipping away at it. To this day, I don't know how long it took me, but when I finally got out, I was a sick man, exhausted. And by the time I was well enough to travel, come home here, you were already married.
And he told me that you'd been killed by natives. Of course, that was a lie, but... Oliver, I still can't believe that your story is completely true either.
But why?
A man who's been the victim of an attempted murder would see that the murderer was punished. You didn't even try to.
Well, Lenore, how could I? He was your husband.
Well, why should that?
Could I brand you as the wife of a murderer? Loving you as I did, as I do? I had to wait. But now let's forget this horrible past.
I can't, no matter how I feel I can't. After all, there's no proof.
Lenore, don't you believe
me?
It's
not just that. Don't you see? At any moment, the telephone may ring, telling me that he's alive. If I knew your story were true, perhaps I'd feel differently, but No, my place is here. I must stay here.
Lenore, please. If you feel any love for me at all...
Will you go, Oliver? Please.
If that's what you wish. Yes, Lenore. I'll go. But remember, I love
you. I don't know why it should matter now, but I still hope you told the truth, Oliver, for then. The papers in the sealed envelope. I promised Dr. George I'd read them. Lenore, there are many things on my mind as I sit writing this last word to you. Many things which no human mind should have to bear without telling another. As I look over my life, I know now it has been an empty mountain.
I've never had a straightforward human emotion and acted on it. My work has been a sort of shadow play which gave my hollow existence an outward tinge of reality. No friend has really touched me, for I cannot be reached. I married you more out of perverse vanity than love. And yet, perhaps because of your loyalty, some spark of love has been kindled in me. Bear this in mind when you go out to the garden. For there, underneath the sundial, you will find a treasure of gold, which should take care of you when I cannot. I had intended to use this gold myself, but I could not because it might incriminate me in the murder of Oliver Wentworth.
People might ask questions, but the murder of Oliver Wentworth. Then his story was true. Oliver! Oh, Oliver! Oliver! Gone. Well, he can't have gone far, and if I hurry... Oliver! Oliver! Oliver, I'm coming! I'm coming! Oliver!
Telephone ringing in an empty house. A man who is not dead, lying in his coffin, fighting for breath and waiting for an answer that will not come. A fitting payment for...
Murder at midnight.
Remember to be with us again when death stands waiting at a newly dug grave and the clocks strike 12 for...
Murder at midnight.
The parts of Mr. and Mrs. Albert Lockridge were played by Mr. and Mrs. Raymond Edward Johnson, with music by Charles Paul. Murder at Midnight was directed by Anton M. Leader.
This I believe. The standard, if somewhat whimsical, characterization of a banker is that of a man with fleshy jowls and a heart of stone. And a bachelor is invariably expected to be an irascible individual, growing more crotchety with age. So a banker, who is also a bachelor, entering his 60s, should be, by all the rules, a forbidding citizen indeed. But Edward M. Mann, vice president of the Philadelphia National Bank, defies that description, just as he has defied the sometimes stuffy protocol of the financial world. Vice presidents, he says, should never take themselves too seriously. There are too many of them. He has known bootblacks to be more interesting than brokers. But Edward Mann's view of life is far from flippant. He lives it fully and with dedication. He gives himself tirelessly to such enterprises as the YMCA. His passion is education, and he has helped many earnest young men to pursue it. Now he reveals his philosophy.
It is not easy to express the thoughts that are deep within one's soul in public without a bit of shyness. My life and career have not been outstanding, but I believe that if perchance my words may be of help to others, I should have the courage to speak them. On my journey through life, I have observed those people who live by the simple truths achieve the greatest happiness. Therefore, I have arrived at a philosophy which sustains me at all times. Foremost is an unshakable faith in God and the belief of the ultimate triumph of His plan for mankind and the world. There comes to my mind an occasion in France during the First World War. One beautiful spring night, I was walking my post on guard duty, over 100 miles back from the fighting and out of all danger. Everything was so quiet and beautiful, it made one feel glad to be alive. My thoughts turned to the front, and it was hard to believe that there men were destroying each other. I was disturbed and confused. It was not possible to reason it out. There was only one answer to it. God knows, and man must not question it. That was my conclusion. We are all selfish and self-concerned, but by submission to His will and believing that all trials and tribulations which beset us are part of His scheme, I believe one can achieve contentment. Aesop said, "The gods help them that help themselves." I believe God helps them that help others. To me, there has been no greater satisfaction in life than the happiness which results from the feeling that someone has been benefited by some thought or act on my part. One of the simple truths that early in my life impressed itself upon me was that among my friends there were none who were free from faults, and I learned to like them in spite of that, hoping that they would feel the same way toward me. One of the most interesting part of life to me is the surprises that one meets with in human contacts. Some of the finest and happiest characters I have known possess neither social position nor material wealth. However, they were rich in gems of philosophy and understanding. Therefore, I believe that part of my happiness results from the friends in all walks of life whom I have met and with whom I have exchanged ideas, appreciation, and understanding. It is surprising how alike we all are when we get deep down under the skin and what common worries afflict us. It seems to me that most people I have met want to do the right thing by one another, so I believe that despite the disturbances of the day, the world is growing better, and that gives to me a feeling of hope and optimism.
A financier who is also an optimist is supposed to be something of a rarity these days. But Edward M. Mann, vice president of the Philadelphia National Bank, whose creed you have just heard, is a rare person in more ways than one. A man who has devised a design for living and then lived it.
New post-war Old Dutch cleanser, famous for chasing dirt, presents Nick Carter, famous for chasing crime. Every week at this time, two great names are joined as new post-war Old Dutch cleanser brings you one of the most resourceful and daring characters in all detective fiction, Nick Carter, Master Detective.
But, Nick, there's no way of telling which boy did it. They were all shooting at once.
That's the point, Patsy. They were all in on it. And legally, they're all guilty.
Oh, no, Nick, not Bubs. Maybe the others, but...
Patsy, I'm afraid the law won't make any distinction in his case.
You mean that if one of the others fired that shot and Bubs didn't even know it, he's guilty?
Yes.
Technically, he's guilty of murder at the age of 12.
Now, the case of the littlest gangster. Today's adventure starring Lon Clark as Nick Carter. Brought to you by new post-war Old Dutch Cleanser. A flashy cream-colored convertible is parked along a dark street in the poorer section of the city, with two small figures crouched in the front seat, talking in whispers.
Bubs, will you quit chewing that bubble gum in my ear and hand me that piece of wire?
Okay, Tim, but do you think we ought to?
I will be driving this hack away in a minute. You seen me wire past the ignition in a car before this.
Yeah, but only so we could go for a ride. We never stole one before.
We gotta start sometime.
But supposing they can't...
Okay, punk, come out of there.
I wasn't doing nothing, mister.
Trying to heist my car, huh? Why, I oughta...
Oh, you leave him go. Turn him loose, you...
Who do you think you're kicking, you little squirt?
I'm Graham Bubs.
I'll learn you to fool with Moxie Reed.
Gee, you ain't Moxie Reed.
Ah, so you heard of me, huh?
You let him go. Quit kicking at him, Bubs. This is Moxie Reed. He's big-time stuff.
Yeah, I guess you do know about me.
Honest, Moxie, we'd have never touched this crate if we'd have known it was yours.
Okay. So don't let it happen again.
You ain't calling the cops?
Me and the cops ain't very friendly. But you two better grow up before you try lifting another car.
But, Moxie, we gotta pull something big.
Yeah, how come?
Well, we got a gang, see? The East Side Scorpions. And we made a club room in an old empty house on Porter Street.
And the place caught on fire from a cigarette or something, and it burned.
It's just an old dump. But old lady Taltman, the lady across the street, she owns the joint, see? And she says if we don't pay $200 for the damage, she's going to have us all put in reform school.
How'd she know it was your gang that started the fire?
Oh, old Mr. Riley seen us coming out of the joint. He lives across the street, too, right next door to her, and he squealed on us.
Who'd you say squealed?
Old man Riley. He used to be a cop till he got too old.
That's so?
Yeah. Now all he does is sit out on his front steps every night and spy on people.
So you're going to let a dame shake it down for 2 centuries, huh?
There ain't no way to stop her, Moxie. That's why we figured on swiping a car, to get the dough.
If it was my gang, I'd throw a scare into her so she wouldn't dare go to the cops.
What would you do, Moxie?
I'd give me a rod, that's what. I'd make sure the other guys in my gang had them, too.
A gun?
Scares you, huh?
Nah, don't scare us. We've been wanting a heater for a long time. Ain't we, Bubs?
Yeah. Sure, Tim.
Look, if you kids really want to know how to handle this old dame, look me up in Mike Reppa's pool room someday. After you get yourself some guns.
The reason I came to see you, Mr. Carter, is that my Bubs isn't really a bad boy. You know that.
Of course, Mrs. Harris. No boy is naturally bad.
I remember when Bubs used to belong to the Downtown Boys Club. He was about 10 years old then, and the bubblegum champion of the block.
Well, that's why they started calling him Bubs, isn't it?
Uh-huh. He was an awfully cute youngster. He still is, Miss Thorne. But there isn't any boys' club where we live now, so, well, he's got himself mixed up with this gang.
A gang? He's only about 12, isn't he?
Yeah, but the others are all older. If something doesn't happen, Bubs will turn out to be just as bad as the rest of them.
Maybe you're exaggerating, Mrs. Harris. They surely didn't start that fire on purpose.
Oh, no, but where we lived before, Bubs wouldn't have dreamed of breaking into an empty building. And already they got another place for the gang to meet. Deserted warehouse over by the waterfront somewhere.
Not having any place where they're allowed to meet and to play that starts a lot of boys breaking the law.
Oh, it's that Tim Newton that's the worst. Bubs thinks he's got to be just as tough as Tim is. And that boy's bad all the way through.
How old is Tim?
Oh, 15.
He can't be a confirmed criminal at that age.
Well, he almost is. And now Bubs is another hero he keeps talking about. A gangster named Moxie Reed.
Moxie Reed? That is bad.
What am I going to do, Mr. Carter? If somebody don't raise $200 to pay for the damage to that house, Mrs. Hellman's going to have them all arrested.
I'll talk to her, Mrs. Harris. And don't you worry. We'll get Bob straightened out. Only glad you came to me before he got into any real trouble.
How's that for a break, Mike? You're sewed up tight. Oh, yeah? Well, watch me put that run ball in the corner pocket.
Hey, Moxie.
Hiya, Tim. Hiya, Bubs. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mr. Reed. Hey, we got them guns you told
Easy,
us.
kids. Will we use the back room, Mike? Yeah, sure. Go right ahead.
This way, kids.
You guys work fast, I'll say that.
We had to. Old Lady Tellman only gave us a week to raise the dough.
One inside. Sit down.
Moxie, you said you'd tell us what to do next.
I was just kidding. Forget it.
But you promised.
So what? Maybe you'd louse up the deal and squawk to the cops that I told you what to do.
We ain't no squealers.
No. We didn't even tell the rest of the gang. They all think it's Tim's idea.
We got the guns, 6 of them.
Yeah. We busted into a shooting gallery after they closed up last night.
What are they, 22 rifles?
Yeah. And we only done it because you said you'd tell us what to do next.
Well, if it was me...
Yeah?
I'd pick me up a car along about 8 o'clock tonight and drive by that old dame's house with a few of my gang.
And shoot her?
No. But I'd throw enough lead through her front window so she'd be scared to ever open her trap about me again.
Sure, I get it.
But, Tim, what if she gets hurt?
Quit beefing, will you? Nobody's going to get hurt.
But maybe she
We'll do it, Moxie. Just like you said. And we'll do it tonight.
Mrs. Tellman, if you give the boys enough time to earn the money to pay for the damage to your building, I'll personally guarantee that you get every cent.
And if you had them sent away to reform school, you won't be able to collect anything.
It is not the money only, Mr. Copper. But someone has got to do something to break up these kid gangs. They're terrible.
I'm trying to do something. Think I can get a boys' club started in this neighborhood and then maybe...
Believe me, it will do no good, Mr. Copper. These kids is mean. They smash windows. They steal automobiles.
Mrs. Tellman, please, hold off a few weeks before having them arrested. It's the only way you can be sure of getting your money.
Yes, Mrs. Tellman. Please do that.
Well, all right. But if they step out of line just one more time, I send every last one of those kids to the reform school.
Wait till I twist these wires together, and we'll see if she starts.
Tim, maybe if we went to Old Lady Tellman and...
Shut up. I'm going to try it now. She works.
Where are we going to pick up the other guys?
At the warehouse.
Are there guns there, too?
Yeah, and enough bullets to give Old Lady Tellman the scare of her life.
Good night, Mrs. Tellman.
Good night, Mr. Copper. Good night, Miss Boyd.
Good night.
Oh, how are you tonight, Miss Riley?
Oh, fine, thanks. Just getting the breath of air like always.
Well, I think we've put in a good day's work, Nick.
I do, too, but I still want to talk to Bubs.
It's almost 8 o'clock. He ought to be home by now.
All right, let's go by there and see.
Nick, look at that car racing up the street. Isn't that Bubs leaning out the front window?
Yeah, that's Bubs, all right. Hey, he's got a rifle. Look out.
Yeah.
Good grief. Come on, Patsy.
They were shooting at Mrs. Tellman's house.
Mrs. Tellman. Mrs. Tellman. It's Nick Carter. Are you all right? Mrs. Tellman.
I'm coming. Oh, they're trying to kill me. Look at my windows. Look at the holes in my front door.
I'm thankful that none of the bullets hit you. I was afraid that maybe... Yes, what's the matter?
If she's all right, you better come down here quick.
Why?
There's a man on the steps next door. He must have been hit by a stray bullet. I think he's dead.
Only a few steps beyond the bullet-riddled front door of Mrs. Tellman's home lies the body of the man who had informed on the juvenile gang, ex-police officer Riley. We'll see what happens in just a minute. Now, back to the case of the littlest gangster. Today's adventure with Nick Carter, brought to you by new post-war Old Dutch Cleanser. Nick is examining the body of James Riley, lying dead on the steps of his home, following a hail of bullets intended to frighten his neighbor, Mrs. Tellman.
All right, keep back, everybody, please. The police will be here in a minute.
Poor Mr. Riley was such a nice man. And those murderers, those hoodlums. Did you see them, Mr. Carter? Do you know who it was?
I'm afraid it was the boys who set fire to your building, Mrs. Tellman.
Oh.
We recognized one of them just before the shooting.
Those little devils. I said they were no good. They should get the electric chair.
Oh, but Mrs. Tellman...
Murderers. When they could not kill me, they should pour Mr. Riley.
I don't believe they did that on purpose.
I know they did. They was mad at him than they was at me. He's the one told me they started the fire.
That's so? Didn't know that.
Oh, it must have been an accident. They were shooting at the front of your house, and one bullet went astray.
No, Patsy, I don't think it was accidental.
Oh, but
The bullet
Nick...
that killed him struck the center of his forehead and came out just behind the right ear. Riley was sitting at the top of this flight of stairs.
Well, what difference does that make?
The difference between an accident and murder.
Oh, but even if you're right, how can you ever find out which of the boys did it? They were all shooting at once.
That's just the trouble, Patsy. When one of a group commits murder while they're all engaged in a crime, they're all equally guilty.
Oh, no, Nick. You don't mean Bubs. Not that baby.
Oh, thank goodness the cops are gone.
Come on, Patsy. Help me look for that bullet. The only chance we have to prove exactly who killed Mr. Riley.
Right in the corner pocket, like I said.
Okay. So now I owe you $4.
Moxie, you gotta help me out, Moxie. The cops seen us and they...
Shut up, you kids. Come on in the back room. Now, what do you mean a cop seen you?
When we was ditching the car, we let the other guys out first. And then just as we was
What'd you do with the guns?
They guess the cops got him. We left him in the car.
Why, you idiots.
Tim says we gotta run away or he'll get us, sure. Yeah, but we dassn't make a break for a few days.
If you're hot, what are you coming to me for? I got no place to put you.
We already got a place. We can hide out in our club room at the old warehouse. You'll take us there in your car, won't you, Moxie? If we go out on the street, they'll get us, sure.
You're going to run away in a few days, huh?
Yeah.
Well, maybe that ain't a bad idea.
Will you take us to the warehouse, Moxie? Will you?
Okay, kids. I'll do it.
Gee, you're a real pal, Moxie. You're swell.
Any news, Matty?
Yeah, ballistics is making the test now, Nick.
Well, what test is that, Sergeant?
They're checking the kids' rifles against the bullet that killed Riley to see which one fired that particular shot.
Well, how will that help?
Well, you see, Pastor, every one of the rifles is covered with fingerprints.
Uh-huh.
And when we know which gun killed Riley, we'll know which kid did it.
No sign of Tim and Bubs yet, huh?
No, Nick, but we rounded up the other 4 that was in the car, and we'll have them, too, before long.
I still say it was an accident, a stray bullet.
Look, Patsy, it don't make no difference. They were committing a crime when it happened, so that makes it murder.
Matty, I don't go along with that stray bullet theory.
Well, you're probably right, Nick. And if Riley was killed deliberately, I'll bet Tim Newton was the one that did it.
Well, why Tim, Sergeant?
I've been told he was plenty sore at Riley for telling the old lady the boys started that fire in the building of hers across the street.
Well, I'm not surprised at that.
Another reason I think Tim did it is because the other boys all said that shooting up Mrs. Tillman's home was his idea.
I wonder if it was, Matty.
You think the kids are lying?
No. But Bubs' mother said he and Tim had been hanging around Moxie Reed lately.
Hey, maybe you got something there, Nick. Moxie's just the kind of a guy to put ideas like that in the kid's mind.
Say, who is this Moxie Reed anyway?
Well, Patsy, a few years ago, he wasn't much different from Tim Newton. But he's developed into a first-class rat, a cheap gangster.
Now, wait a minute. I wouldn't say cheap, Nick. He's getting plenty of dough from somewhere, or he wouldn't be able to run around in that big cream-colored convertible he's got.
But you can't get anything on him, huh?
No, not lately.
Huh.
You know, about 7 years ago, we tagged him for a stick-up over on the... Hey, that's funny. Well, talk about coincidences.
Well, what's funny, Sergeant?
The guy that hung that rap on Moxie was Riley, the man who was killed.
What?
Yeah, he used to be a cop before he retired.
You say Riley was the one who arrested Moxie Reed?
Sure, it was his testimony that sent Moxie up.
That's what I've been looking for, Matty. Somebody who had reason to hate Riley. Somebody beside the kids.
Hey, that's an idea, Nick. Moxie might have got the kids to shoot up Mrs. Tillman's home and got one of them to bump off Riley by telling him it would look like an accident and nobody could ever prove which one did it.
Yeah, it could have been that way, Matty, but...
Yeah.
I think that...
Wait a minute. Homicide, Sergeant Matheson speaking. Oh, yeah? Yeah, what did you find out?
Is it the report from ballistics?
Uh-huh. Yeah, go ahead, Malloy. It wasn't. But it had to be. Oh, you sure you didn't make no mistake? I know, but... Okay. Yeah, thanks.
What's the matter, Matty?
You know what, Nick? None of them 6 guns we found in the kid's car killed Riley.
Good.
But what do you mean, good? It only proves that one of those kids knew he was going to kill Riley. That's Why, he took the gun away and hid it so we couldn't identify it.
You may change your mind after we talk to Tim and Bubs.
What? Well, we ought to pick them up before long. Do you want me to give you a ring when we find them?
No, I don't want to sit around and wait. I'm going out to look for them myself.
Okay.
In the meantime, I suggest you have some of your boys bring in Moxie Reed.
Our club room's right at the top of these stairs, Moxie.
You sure nobody will come looking around in here?
Why, this old warehouse ain't been used for years. They condemned it or something.
Where's the room you kids are going to hide out in?
It's this door. We got a padlock on it, so as if anybody ever did come in here, they wouldn't swipe any of our stuff.
You got the key, Tim?
Sure, I got it right here. Moxie, you've been a great guy, and we ain't ever going to forget it.
Yeah, it was just like you belonged to our gang.
Sure, even coming down there to help us out.
Down where?
To old Lady Tillman's house.
What are you talking about?
And you wasn't even going to tell us. We wouldn't have known what a swell pal you are if Bubs hadn't have looked up and seen you.
It was swell seeing you standing in that window across the street pumping lead into the old lady's front door just like we was.
So you saw me there, did you?
Yeah. Oh, we didn't tell the other guys.
That's good. I'll get in that room.
Come on, Bubs.
Tim, I think I changed my mind.
Huh?
If I was to run away, well, it'd just about kill my mom. I'd rather go to the reform school.
Are you nuts? Get inside there.
I can't. I'm going back home.
You're going in that room now.
Hey, what's the idea of hitting a little kid like that?
That goes for you too, stupid. Get in there.
Oh! Moxie, don't lock the door, please.
You let us out of here. Open this door.
So long, punks. It's been nice knowing you.
Driving along the waterfront for almost an hour. Isn't it time to give up and go home?
Yeah, I guess so, Patsy. But Bub's mother said the boys had a clubroom in some deserted warehouse in this district. Seemed the logical place for them to hide out.
Yeah, but it's so dark down here now, you can't even tell which ones are deserted.
I was hoping we'd find them on the street. This is where they came, though. It looked as though they got here first.
We can come back again in the morning.
All right. Hey, Patsy. Look at that car up ahead.
Why, it's a big cream-colored convertible, like the one Sergeant Matheson said Moxie Reed owned.
If I'm not mistaken, that's Moxie getting ready to drive off.
Are you sure?
No, but I'm going to cut in ahead of him and find out.
Hey, what's the big idea?
Stay right where you are, Moxie. Thought I recognized you.
What do you want to do, give me a medal?
No, just want to have a little talk with you, if you don't mind.
Lock us in here for, Tim? I want to go home.
Quit blubbering, will you? Go on, chew your bubble gum.
I lost it someplace.
Okay, so quit crying anyway. I ain't gonna let nothing happen to you. There'll be plenty of people working around this neighborhood in the morning. If we yell loud enough, somebody will come and let us out.
I want to get out now.
Well, you can't. We could yell our lungs out and nobody'd hear us, so shut up.
Tim, do you smell something?
Huh? Hey, I think I do. It smells like smoke.
He did smoke.
Yeah, and it's stronger over here by the door. Holy cow, the building must be on fire.
What are we gonna do? We gotta get out.
We can't. The door's locked. Help! Let us out! Somebody! Get us out of here. We'll be burned out. Help!
Hoping against hope that someone will hear them, the two boys pound helplessly against the heavy locked door. We'll see what happens in just a minute. Now for the conclusion of the case of the littlest gangster. Today's adventure with Nick Carter, brought to you by new post-war Old Dutch Cleanser. Unaware that Tim and Bubs are locked in a burning warehouse in the deserted waterfront district, Patsy listens as Nick questions Moxie Reed.
I want to know where those two kids are, Reed.
I don't know what kids you're talking about.
Oh, yes, you do. Tim Newton and Bubs Harris.
I ain't seen them in 2 or 3 days.
Hey, just a minute, Moxie. You chew gum?
No, and I don't go for all-day suckers either.
Well, there's a wad of chewing gum stuck to your trousers leg. And from the color, I'd say it was bubble gum.
Does that mean something, Nick?
Bubs Harris got his nickname because he's always chewing bubble gum. I'll bet this was some of his. See, it hasn't even begun to dry out yet.
Oh, lots of kids chew bubble gum. I might have picked it up any place.
But when we find you up here, the neighborhood where we expected to find Bubs and Tim, I think that gum means a whole lot.
Nick, look. Across the street, those windows.
That warehouse is on fire, Patsy.
Yeah.
You better turn an alarm. There's a box right in front of the warehouse.
Right, Nick. I'll get it.
Look, Carter, I got a date. I've got to...
What's your hurry?
I'm getting out of here. I got to go up in that...
You wouldn't know anything about that fire, would you?
No. Watch yourself. I'm going to start it.
You're not going anywhere, Moxie. You're staying here till I find out what's making you so jittery all of a sudden.
Why,
Oh, you want to play, do you? Well, how do you like that? Oh, cool. Must have swung harder than I thought.
Nick! Oh, Nick!
Yes, what is it, Patsy?
Just as I turned the alarm, Nick, I thought I heard someone in the building. Listen.
I bet that's the boys.
Oh, you've got to save them, Nick.
Here, take my handcuffs.
Yeah.
Fasten Moxie to the steering wheel of the car. I'm going after those boys before they burn to death. Hey, Tim! Bubs! Where are you?
In here, this door.
It's locked. Can you open it?
No, it's a padlock.
All right, stand out of the way. I'm going to try to break it down.
I think it gave a little. Try it again.
All right.
I was afraid nobody coming.
Never mind. Where's Bubs?
Over there on the floor. He passed out from the smoke.
Okay, I'll carry him. Come on.
Nick, look. The flames are coming up the stairs. We can't get out that way.
Is there another way out of here, Tim?
There's some windows at the back. Maybe we can jump.
Quick, show me the way. I'll follow with Bubs. There's no time to lose.
How's your ankle, Nick?
Oh, you can stop worrying, Patsy. It's all right.
Well, I guess you were lucky at that to get off with only a sprained ankle after jumping out of a second-story window.
If it wasn't for that pile of trash I landed on, it might have been worse.
Yeah.
And if Bubs hadn't come to before we jumped, it would have been very much worse.
I'm glad neither of the kids was hurt. Do you know yet what's going to happen to them?
Well, I think I'll be able to get them a suspended sentence, depending on their future good behavior, of course.
Well, now that the boys' club is a certainty, their behavior shouldn't be any problem.
Well, I think they've learned their lesson. It's a cinch they'll never admire gangsters again, after the way Moxie treated them.
Uh-huh. You know, you never did tell me how you figured out that Moxie killed Mr. Riley.
I didn't know it was Moxie, but I was pretty sure Riley hadn't been shot by one of the boys in that car.
Why?
Because anyone shooting from a car wouldn't have had the gun more than 5 feet above street level.
Mm-hmm.
And Riley was sitting on the top step, his head at least 8 feet above street level.
Well?
And the bullet went into the center of his forehead and came out behind his right ear, traveling a downward course.
I see. If it had been fired from the car, the bullet would have traveled upward.
Right. That's why I thought the bullet might have come from the second or third story of that empty building across the street.
It did, too. That's where Bub saw Moxie.
Yes, but the boys thought he was helping them frighten Mrs. Tillman. They didn't even know Riley had been shot until I told them.
So that's why Moxie tried to kill the boys by setting that warehouse on fire, because he knew they'd seen him.
Yeah. See, Moxie had hated Riley ever since Riley sent him up to the penitentiary for that stick-up 7 years ago.
Yeah?
And when the boys told him of their trouble with a woman who lived next door, and also that Riley sat on the front steps of his house every night, well, it looked like a perfect setup for murder.
Yeah, well, I still don't see how you could ever have proved it, though, if Moxie hadn't confessed.
Well, we were lucky to get the proof first, and he confessed later. Wasn't hard once we knew what to look for. We found the dealer from whom Moxie bought a .22 rifle exactly like the one he knew the boys were going to use. And later, we found the gun itself.
So it wasn't such a perfect setup after all.
Well, not for murder, but as far as Moxie was concerned, it turned out to be a perfect setup for the electric chair.
Nick Carter, Master Detective, is presented each week at this time by the Cudahy Packing Company. It is produced and directed by Jock McGregor and is copyrighted by Street and Smith Publications, Incorporated. Charlotte Manson is featured as Patsy. Ed Latimer plays Matty. Today's script was written by Jim Parsons. Original music is played by Henry Silverne. This program is fictional, and any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, is purely coincidental. This is Michael Fitzmaurice saying, when minutes count, use new post-war Old Dutch Cleanser. This is the network for the Indianapolis Speedway race tomorrow, the Mutual Broadcasting System.
This I believe. The strange species of people known as reporters are often catalogued as irascible and disrespectful citizens. But in our unguarded moments, we can be human too, or so we like to think. An associate of mine, Edward P. Morgan, foreign correspondent, magazine writer, and now himself a sort of freshman in this odd business of radio, has collected some of his own private observations about life. And here he is to tell them.
When I was a small boy, I believed in God the same way I believed in Santa Claus. My mother told me it was so. The process of growing up, of sorting out mature convictions from the world of make-believe, this has been a painful thing for me. I still have my guard up against what might be termed professional religion. It is so easy for us to press ourselves into a pattern, to learn to say pious things self-righteously without really believing in them or acting upon them. How can I profess a belief in what we call a supreme being without showing an honest faith in the human being, the ordinary mortal? Of all times, I think, now is the time when men must believe in men, or they can believe in nothing. If I cannot believe in the man next door and recognize and respect the human dignity which is his birthright as intimately as his skin, what valid connection can I claim with a presence in whose image I am supposed to be cast? But if I believe in humanity, then I come to know, inevitably, that there is something bigger than myself. If I couldn't figure this out in the spinning urban world where life is swift and often ruthless, I like to think that a kind of instinctive humility would come to me as I, a man, walked along, say, in a deep green forest, past the temples of trees, through the canyons of rocks, and beside the avenues of shining rivers. Perhaps that is the time when a man's mind can best reach out and grasp the stars. I have a feeling that the world is bigger than we imagine, that we are on the brink of great discoveries, not only in science, but in people. We are only at the frontier of humanity. We are just beginning to poke into the fascinating recesses of the consciousness and attempt somehow to measure that non-dimensional organ called the human soul. In other words, we are on the verge, it seems to me, of discovering ourselves. This excites me. This will prove that the world is not only big, it is also small, a cozy place where people can extend their minds as easily as they extend a hand and touch each other with understanding. I believe people must have nourishment for their minds and spirits, just as we need pork chops and potatoes and vitamin C for our bodies. Malnutrition of the mind means a warped character as surely as rickets mean puny bones. There is a certain rich sustenance of beauty which has helped me overcome this disease. For me, beauty is one of the most important things in life, or perhaps I mean an awareness of beauty. It is everything from the warm, sensuous beauty of woman, who is life itself, to the liquid rhythm of music, the fragile, fleeting loveliness of daybreak, the terrible majesty of a storm. A picture, a poem, the open look of a child. In our frenetic existence today, these things seem like a blur glimpsed through the window of a speeding train. Our very velocity adds to our uneasiness about ourselves, about how long we are going to live, about death. But the good things are there, I think, if we pause to find them. And I believe that as for himself, a man lives in the faces and the hearts of his children, and in the friendships and the memories of his friends. I believe that all the permanence I need is floating there, on the stream of life.
That was my friend Ed Morgan, a reporter and CBS newscaster who for nearly 20 years has been poking around in various parts of the world and who has learned that beliefs don't do a man much good unless he can believe first in himself.
Wheaties presents Night Beat. On stage tonight, transcribed from Hollywood, Night Beat, another in the Wheaties' big parade of exciting half-hour presentation. Night Beat.
This is Randy Stone. I cover the night beat for the Chicago Star. Stories start in many different ways. This one began when I bumped into a wonderful legend out of the past and watched that legend die before my eyes.
Night Beat, starring Frank Lovejoy as Randy Stone.
The Jackie Robinson story should be showing at your neighborhood theater very soon, and I'm mighty proud to suggest that you go and take the family. Because besides being the famous Brooklyn Dodgers second baseman, Jackie is famous to me as a real, true Wheaties champion. He eats Wheaties about 4 times a week, and that's what I like to hear. His wife eats Wheaties, his son Jackie Jr. eats Wheaties, and so does his grandma. If I had my way, that's how everybody's family would feel about Wheaties. Because Wheaties are that good. They're 100% whole wheat flakes, and you just can't beat whole wheat for nourishment. Wheaties are now showing at your neighborhood grocers in big orange and blue boxes. No waiting in line. Just step in there and ask for Wheaties, breakfast of champions. It's a wonderful morning when you've had your Wheaties.
You know, I guess the one thing that makes a newspaper guy like me different from any other working stiff is that while a bookkeeper works with numbers, carpenter deals in wood, and miner sweats over coal, a newspaper man, well, all he works with is people. What makes them laugh and dance in the street, what makes them cry in the night. But just the same, like most kinds of work, this has its occupational hazards, too. Being a newspaper man doesn't give you painter's colic or housemaid's knee. But sometimes it can sure do some lousy things to your heart. It was my night off. I had a date with a little blonde at the information desk. You know, the girl who tells you where to go after you tell her what you're looking for. I finally talked her into going dancing. I was supposed to pick her up at 9 o'clock. Only here it was 8:30, and I was still trying to find a flower shop to buy her a corsage. I'd walked to the edge of Skid Row when I finally spotted this place, a little florist shop in the center of a shabby office building. Looking through the window, I saw a gray-haired old lady pinning a boutonniere on the lapel of a chunky fellow in a shiny blue serge. As I came through the front door, the fellow spun around like he was expecting the worst.
Will you hold still so I can get this flower in place?
I'm sorry, Mrs. Dunlap. I'm expecting somebody. I thought maybe this fellow might be the one.
All right. Now, you just stay quiet. I'll be with you in a moment, sir.
All right, there's no hurry at all.
There now. Isn't that beautiful? My husband set it aside especially for you.
Tell your husband thanks. I don't know, no matter how punk I feel, if I get a fresh flower in my lapel, it picks me up better than a shot of raw gin. How much do I owe you?
50 cents.
Here you are.
Oh, I'll pick it up. You seem upset tonight. This person you're going to meet must be quite important.
Yeah, he sure is. He's the man who's going to put me out of my misery.
What?
Sure. Tell your husband next time I need a flower, he better make it a nice white lily. Goodbye.
Oh, that fellow's sure upset.
Oh, poor Tom Paxton. I've seen him like this before. He's just had a wee bit too much to drink, I'm afraid.
Tom Paxton? No.
Huh?
The rose in his lapel used to be his trademark.
Oh, do you know Tom?
Well, if he's the same one, I was never that lucky. Best I could do was worship him from a distance.
Worship Tom?
Yeah, that sounds crazy, doesn't it? 10 years ago, when I was in college, Tom Paxton was the greatest football star we'd ever had. He was one of the greatest in the country. He was a legend.
Oh, well, it can't be the same man.
I don't know. Once you get over the shock, the resemblance is there, and that rose in the lapel. I don't know, lady, but I'm going to find out. I went out the side door of the florist shop into the lobby. And there was Tom standing in the dark, pushing the button for the elevator. As I came up to him, he spun around again like it was part of an act that he always did on cue.
Are you following me?
Well, yes.
You weren't just shopping for flowers there, were you?
Hmm?
If you're Dixie, all right. Don't play games with me. I'm tired of running away. I'm half-bats. How much of it can I take?
Now, look, I'm Randy Stone. I heard the woman call you Tom Paxton. When I went to college, there was a Tom Paxton who was just about the greatest football player who ever lived.
What are you talking about?
You got me mixed up with 3 other guys.
Well, this Tom Paxton was always sporting a flower at his lapel.
There's no law against that, is there? Now, go on. Get out of here. Let me alone.
While we were talking, the light over the button of the self-operating elevator flashed on. The elevator was coming down. Well, if Tom Paxton didn't want me to bother him, I couldn't twist his arm. I turned to leave just as the elevator doors opened. Only instead of Tom stepping in, somebody else stepped up.
I was waiting for you, Paxton.
You're Dixie, aren't you?
Come again?
Aren't you?
Sure, that's what I got this southern accent.
Now, listen
Come
to me.
on. Somebody wants to see you.
Why doesn't the Syndicate give me a break? Why don't they give me a chance to pay up?
I said come on.
Now, wait a minute, Buster.
You ain't invited, sport. This is one of them small affairs. Paxton, this gun in my pocket, it ain't one of them gadgets you pull the trigger and a cigarette pops out. Come on.
Tom and the mug went out to a small black sedan parked at the curb. As the car raced down the street, I ran across the lobby into Dunlop's flower shop and called the police. When the squad car arrived, I told the boys what little I knew. We found Tom's office on the 4th floor. It told me more about his life since he left college than a 600-page biography. A battered couch, a filing cabinet with nothing filed away except a half-empty bottle of gin, and a beaten-up desk that gave up a couple of old racing forms. And then on the wall behind the desk, I saw something that really grabbed my heart. A picture of the college football team, with Tom right in front with a pigskin in his arms, smiling defiantly like nothing bad could ever happen to him. I hung around after the police left. The picture made me feel low. I wondered how many beatings you had to take to go from All-American to Skid Row to maybe the county morgue. Then the office door opened, and Tom was standing in the doorway. Only he looked different. He didn't seem to be so frightened anymore.
Well, I hear there were cops all over the place. What are you trying to do, get me some publicity?
Did Dixie give you a stay of execution?
No, that wasn't Dixie. Just one of Frank Burr's tough guys.
Burr, the big shot Politico?
Yeah, that's right. Had a little assignment for yours truly.
Oh, yeah? How many times do you have to vote for him?
No, it's nothing like that. I'm going to conduct a little investigation. Yeah, so you remembered the old halfback, huh?
I thought you didn't know what I was talking about.
Oh, well, I had a lot on my mind downstairs. Wasn't in any mood to chew the fat. Well, what are you doing these days?
I work on a newspaper.
Oh, is that so?
Mm-hmm.
Well, me, like you see, I went into the investigating game. It's not much of an office, but if big shots like Burr come to me, I guess it's not so bad, huh?
No, I guess not.
Say, this fella Dixie I mentioned, I don't want you to get any funny ideas about him. I just gambled a little over my head, like anybody does now and then. Well, I owe the Syndicate a few $1,000, so they think they can scare me by putting their hatchet men on my trail. Only if you remember Tom Paxton, no, he don't scare so easy. Right?
That's right.
Now, that reminds me. I better call the boys right now and tell them I'll settle up at the end of the week. I don't want them losing any sleep on my account.
Well, I'll be going, Tom.
No, kid. Stick around. I'd like to talk to you, kid. About old times, huh?
All right, okay, Tom.
Hello, Jack. Hiya, kid. This is Tom Paxton. Say, look, baby, I got some good news for you. I'll be able to settle with you boys at the end of the week. Well, I know I have, but this time it's on the level. Well, now, wait a minute, Jack. Don't hang up on me. Well, now, give me a break, baby. 3 days? Oh, but I can't do the job in 3 days. No, wait, please, don't hang up. Okay. 3 days. Only tell Dixie to lay off. Yeah. Thanks, Jack. Thanks a lot. 3 days. How am I going to find him in 3 days?
Tom, if there's anything I can do...
What? Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's something you can do. You can clear out of here. So you found me out, huh? Does that make you feel good or something?
Oh, now, look.
Maybe if you'd taken the beatings I have, maybe if you'd been crossed up, stabbed in the back, slugged, cheated as many times as I have, you... Oh, what am I telling you for? Go on, get out of here.
Sure thing. So long, Tom.
No, wait a minute.
Yeah?
Look, you being a reporter, you could get into records I couldn't even touch, couldn't you?
Well, I think so.
Look, if I had a week, I could do it on my own, but I've got to find him in 3 days.
Who do you have to find in 3 days?
Look, Stone, I'm not going to kid with you anymore. I've got to make good on this job Burr gave me. I've got to get that fee. If I don't, this guy, Dixie, will...
Who is this guy, Dixie?
Well, that's what drives me nuts. Nobody knows, only the Syndicate.
Well, why don't you go to the police?
No. Cops are out of my line. If I could clean this job up in 3 days, Burr will pay me $5,000, and I'll be all right. That's like I've always said. All you need in life is one good break. And after that, you can roll on your own.
Well, what about Burr?
Well, for a big shot, he's sure plenty scared. Says the newspaper's trying to destroy him.
Oh, so?
So the only way they can do it is to find somebody named John Durand.
I never heard of him.
Nobody, but not to Burr.
Well, what does Durand look like?
Well, Burr wouldn't know what he looks like today. He hasn't seen him for 25 years. I've only got one thing to go on.
Now, what's that?
John Durand is a blind man.
A big shot like Burr afraid of a helpless blind man?
Afraid? Burr's as frightened of that blind man, John Durand, as I am of my unknown pal, Dixie.
General Mills is bringing you Night Beat, starring Frank Lovejoy as Brandy Stone.
You know, it's a wonderful morning when you've had your Wheaties. You bet. You get up, you stumble out of bed. Well, you do, don't you? But when you get to the Wheaties, everything looks brighter. Because these are the toastiest, crispiest, friendliest little whole wheat flakes you ever shook a spoon at. They're nice to be with at the breakfast table, Wheaties are. Good as they are, with the rich, full, nut-like taste of good whole wheat. And that whole wheat, brother, what that whole wheat can do for you. You can honestly, truly do a better job, work easier, get through the morning happier when you start a better breakfast with Wheaties. So, if you plan to get up in the morning, plan to join the rest of the smart people who are getting up to Wheaties. Pour on the milk, put on the fruit, pick up the spoon, and enjoy yourself. Wheaties, breakfast of champions. Breakfast for you. It's a wonderful morning when you've had your Wheaties.
And now, back to Night Beat and Randy Stone.
Tom and I started work the next morning, right after he picked up a fresh, sweet-smelling rose from Mr. and Mrs. Dunlap's florist shop in the lobby. It's funny, but for Tom, a flower in his lapel was like a shot of Benzedrine. After that, we split up. I went down to the paper to have a talk with the political editor. Yes, everyone interested in clean government was trying to wash that Burr right out of their hair. But so far, nothing definite had turned up against him. Only a funny blank space in Burr's biography, a blank space that happened 25 years ago. And I got that ever-loving jackpot feeling. 25 years ago, that's when John Durand, the blind man, entered the picture. Tom and I had to find that blind man, and we had 3 days.
Randy, I'm calling from City Hall. I've checked all the city directories. No John Durand.
Oh, that's great. I visited every agency that helps the blind. Nobody's ever heard of him.
Well, what are we going to do, Randy?
What else can we do? We keep looking. He's not on any credit report. His name's never appeared on any police blotter.
Well, we're running out of time.
Well, nothing to do but keep looking.
I'm going through the records over at the county building. I can't find a trace.
We've got only 1 day left, Randy. The syndicate gave me till midnight tomorrow. What are we going to do?
What we've been doing right along. Keep looking.
The third day, we started making the rounds of all the hoodlum hangouts, the bars, the pool halls, the mangy little side street flop houses. I took one section of the city, and Tom took the other. And late that night, in one of those flop houses, I got the shock of my sweet life.
No, nobody named John Durand ever stopped here.
Well, I thought he might have stayed here under a phony name. He's a blind guy.
I know all about him, mister.
You what?
What did this poor sucker do anyhow? Every hoodlum I know is looking for him.
What are you talking about?
Just what I said. Every guy in town who'd cut a throat to earn a buck is looking for John Durand.
It was after 9 p.m. when I got back to Tom's office to break the news to him. Poor guy, he thought Burr had given him an exclusive assignment. And all the time, Burr had set up a private manhunt. He'd unleashed every mad dog in town to track down John Durand. When I got to the office, the door was open, but Tom wasn't around. I sat down to wait for him, and the phone started ringing. Hello?
I'd like to speak to Mr. Paxton.
Well, he's not around right now. Any message?
Yes, this is Frank Burr calling.
Oh, yes.
You can tell Mr. Paxton that he can stop his search for John Durand as of now.
Does that mean you found him?
Oh, you know about it, eh?
Oh, yes, I'm helping Paxton. Did you find Durand?
No. I know where I can find him when I want to.
I see. I guess that winds things up.
Yes. Tell Mr. Paxton, will you please?
Yeah, oh, look, as long as it's all over with. Why have you been so anxious to catch Durand? After all, he's only a blind man, and Mm-hmm. I'll ask a silly question. You get a silly answer. I had just hung up the phone thinking, poor Tom, now there's no way out for him. The 3 days were just about all washed up. Now there was nobody left but his friend Dixie. And then, like I'd said a magic word or something, the door to Tom's office started slowly opening. Tom came in leading a little old guy with smoked glasses and a white cane. Tom, you found him. You found Durand.
I should be so lucky. No, this is Mr. Graham, one of the directors of the Institute for the Blind.
Hello.
How do you do?
I'm going batty, banging my head against walls. I figured maybe Mr. Graham might give us a lead. Oh, Mr. Graham, this is Randy Stone.
How do you do, sir? I hope I can be of service.
Oh, thank you, but I'm afraid it's too late, Mr. Graham.
Too late? What do you mean?
Oh, Bird just called. He's found Durand. You can forget that $5,000 fee. You're, fired.
And Dixie comes into the picture again. The Syndicate gave me only until tonight.
Yeah, excuse me while I make a call.
Who are you calling?
About 2,000 cops.
Hang up the phone, Randy.
What are you talking about? You need them now.
Hang it up.
Don't be nuts.
All right, I'll hang it up for you.
Now, what's that for?
Call in the cops. Big deal. Maybe it would delay my trip to the morgue, but if that's the best I can get, it's no soap.
The cops would protect you?
Sure, for a week, 2 weeks, maybe even a month. But then what? Dixie would still be waiting. He's never missed an appointment.
They'd pick him up before he reached you. There's a couple of small laws about killing people.
How would they pick him up? They wouldn't even know who to look for.
Gentlemen, I seem to be intruding. If one of you will lead me to the elevator,
Oh. You lead him, Randy. Then you get on the elevator right with him. Thanks for the try.
Oh, now, wait a minute.
Beat it, will you? I'm expecting a guest.
Now, Mr. Graham, before we leave, for my own amazement, I want to ask you something.
Yes?
Can you think of any reason why a powerful man like Burr should be afraid of a helpless blind man?
Well, of course, that's hard to say.
Randy, will you get out of here, the both of you?
Unless, of course, the man saw something just before he went blind that would incriminate Mr. Burr.
Hmm?
Yes. You see, the blind never forget the last thing they see before they go blind. It stays alive in their mind until the moment they die.
Well, then, if Durand had been a witness to a crime Burr committed and then went blind...
That would indeed make him the greatest possible menace to Burr.
Well, then that's it.
Hooray for our side. A lot of good it does me now.
I can tell you how it was when I went blind. It happened quite suddenly, as the doctor said it would. I was out in the country with my family. Wildflowers everywhere. And now that my blindness has made me so overly sensitive to the lovely scent of flowers, the picture is even more real. You know, it's a strange thing about flowers.
The blind man kept talking softly, more to himself than to us. Tom had spun his swivel chair around so that he was looking out of the window. The back of his shirt collar was soaking wet. I knew that pressure was building up inside him like steam in a boiler. Absently, he'd been taking the ever-present flower from his lapel, and he was tearing it apart with nervous fingers. And then Tom's back stiffened. He was staring through the window down at the dark street. I looked over his shoulder. A big car had stopped a short way down the street. A heavy-set, well-dressed man had stepped out. As he passed under the street lamp in front of the flower shop, I recognized him from his pictures.
Burr. It's Frank Burr.
Tom's voice sounded cockeyed. I looked at him. His face was falling to pieces like an overripe melon. He was looking at the flower he'd taken from his lapel.
Mrs. Dunlap, she won't like what I'm doing to her flower. Always so proud because her husband could select sweet-scented flowers. Graham, what did you say before? Now that my blindness has made me sensitive to the scent of flowers.
Yes, I see.
Mr. Dunlap, the florist.
I never had a good look at him. He was always puttering around and back.
You think...
I know. John Durand was always just downstairs in the lobby. And there's still time for me, Randy. There's still time.
Tom raced for the door of his office. He pulled a gun out of his coat. I followed him. He went to the elevator, pressed the button a couple of times, and then decided to take the stairs instead. He looked back at me, chasing after him, and waved me back. He started down the stairs 2 at a time. I caught up with him at the second landing. I grabbed his shoulders. He tried to tear himself away.
Let me go, Randy. Let me go.
What do you mean there's still time? What are you going to do down there?
Randy, I'm telling you to let me go.
Answer me. What are you going to do?
Sure, I'll answer you, overboy. What do you think Burr was going to pay me $5,000 for? Just to give him Duran's address so he could send him nasty letters? No, there was one other little item I didn't tell you about. I not only had to find Durand, I had to make sure nobody else found him. I had to kill him.
Oh, Tom, you're kidding. A helpless blind man?
Oh, Burr thinks I'm the man for the job. He told me I was the ideal choice.
Tom, you're not that kind of a man.
Who says so? You think this is still an old football team with a lot of nice rules so nobody gets hurt too bad? This is the jungle, Rover Boy. It's dog eat dog all the way down the line. Now let me go.
No.
I said let me go.
He broke away and took off the stairs again. But Tom had put on a lot of fat since college days, and walking the night beat had kept me lean. I caught up with him just as we reached the lobby.
Randy, I'm telling you to lay off of me. Now leave me alone.
You're going to listen to reason?
All you need is one good break. Well, this is mine, and I'm going to take it. Now let me go.
You're crazy. I can't let you do it.
You'll have to let me do it, Randy. You're just going to have to let me do it.
Tom brought the gun barrel down on my head. My knees turned to ginger beer. I reached for the wall to keep from falling, but the wall fell right with me. I tried to cry out, but all I could manage was a wheeze. Helplessly, I watched Tom, with the gun still in his hand, go through the lobby entrance into the florist shop.
Oh, Tom. What on earth are you doing with that gun?
At that moment, the front door opened, too, and Mr. Burr came into the shop, also carrying a gun.
Don't do this.
What a spot for a chorus of Auld Lang Syne.
What's going on? Mr. Paxton, what is this?
Is the job still mine?
A smug little smile crossed Burr's face as he put his own gun away.
Sure, why not, Paxton? A deal's a deal. He's in back working on his flowers. But it'll have to be her, too.
Oh.
Okay.
No! Hey! Tom!
Tom raised his gun as old lady Duran started running for her husband. And then Tom seemed to hesitate, like something was going through his mind.
Go on. What are you waiting for?
Maybe Tom was thinking about his last 10 years on Skid Row when he'd never done one decent thing. And maybe he thought it was time to start.
Go ahead and get it over with, Paxton.
Suddenly, Tom swung the gun away from the cowering Durans and began shooting. There wasn't even time for that smug smile to leave Burr's face as Burr slowly crumbled to the floor. After that, everything started getting foggy for me. By the time the police arrived and splashed cold water on my face, Tom had gotten away, disappeared into the night. Burr was dead, and now John Durand wasn't afraid to talk. 25 years before, Burr had been a punk in the rackets. There'd been a bombing. One man killed, John Durand blinded. And the picture Durand carried in his mind, the last thing he saw before the lights went out forever, was Burr throwing that bomb. After that, Durand was afraid Burr had tried to finish the job, so he changed his name and went into hiding. I told the cops about the gambling syndicate that had been hounding Tom, and they went after the boys. And all in all, it was quite an evening. Then around 3:30 in the morning, while I was sitting up in my office trying to bat out my night beat story, my telephone started ringing. Yeah.
Randy, this is Tom.
Tom, hey, where are you?
Never mind, I'm okay. I just wanted to let you know you were pretty good to me, kid.
Listen, every cop in the city's looking for you.
Well, they can look until Christmas. It won't do them any good. I've got a hideout that they couldn't find with radar.
How come?
It's like I've always said. All you need is one good break. I got mine right out of a clear blue sky.
Hmm?
Yeah, real square. Met him at a bar. Didn't know where to turn. This guy buys me a drink. Says I look like I could stand a good meal and a place to sleep. He thinks I just blew into town and I'm down and out. Now he says I can stay here as long as I like. He's in the next room, so I gotta make this call short.
Tom, I tell you, you're crazy for hiding out. The police will give you a break.
Now, says who?
I'm telling you they will.
And even if they did, what about the syndicate? What about Dixie?
There isn't any more syndicate. Most of those hoodlums are already sitting in jail.
What? Dixie, too?
No, but they'll have him soon enough. Now they've got a description of him. They know who to look for.
Look, I gotta hang up. This guy's liable to pop in any second, but just for the records, what does Dixie look like?
He's an ordinary fella. He wears glasses, even. He's got gray hair. Looks more like an insurance man than a hoodlum.
Dixie looks like that.
The only two distinguishing marks, according to the police, is that thumb is missing from his left hand.
Randy, has he got a white scar under his eye?
How did you know that?
Look, Randy, the guy that took me to this hideout, the guy that gave me the break. see.
What? Where are you? Quick, tell me.
Oh, he's coming, Randy.
Tell me.
No. No. No.
Tom. Operator. Yeah. Like Tom always said, all you need is one good break. Tomorrow? Sure, a nice, pleasant morrow coming right up. Well, maybe not so pleasant. Tom had been dead a long time before Dixie caught up with him. Tom had died when he found out he wasn't always going to be a hero, the guy on top of the heap. What is there about people that they've got to be number one or they won't play? What's so bad about being number 2 or number 3? Why does life have to be one great victory after another? What's so fancy about us that we can't afford to fall on our face every so often? The fellow who said, God, give me the strength to fail, really had something. And besides, not making the top of the heap has its compensations, too. It's a lot less lonely down here among us also, Rand. Copy, boy.
You are listening to Night Beat on the Wheaties Big Parade. And here's Frank Martin.
Oh, Frank Lovejoy.
Oh, yeah, Frank.
Before you go, I'd like you to meet our special visitor tonight, Sarah Berner, whose new show, Sarah's Private Caper, is joining the Wheaties Big Parade on Thursday nights.
Well, hello, Sarah. Welcome to the Wheaties team.
Gee, what a big, handsome hunk of man.
Oh, Wheaties, you know, Sarah.
Will you two stop kidding me?
Oh, I don't know. I've been feeding Wheaties to my boyfriend, Melvin. But Melvin still looks just the same.
I bet he feels good, though.
That he does, Mr. Lovejoy. And how do you like your Wheaties?
In a dish, Sarah, in a dish.
Oh, what a coincidence. Me too.
And me, too. Wheaties and I will be listening for Sarah Berner in Sarah's Private Caper Thursday nights from now on.
Good luck, Sarah.
Night Beat, starring Frank Lovejoy, is produced and directed by Warren Lewis. Written and edited by Larry Marcus. Music by Frank Worth. The part of Tom was played by Bill Conrad. Others in tonight's cast were Jeanette Nolan, Ted Von Eltz, and Norman Field. Listen next week at this same time and every week as Randy Stone searches through the city for the strange stories waiting for him in the darkness.
And this is the Wheaties man, Frank Martin, inviting you to listen also on Tuesday, that's tomorrow night, to the Penny Singleton Show on the Wheaties Big Parade. See you then.
Night Beat came to you transcribed from Hollywood. Stay tuned for the new Top Secret over most NBC stations.
This I believe. Edward R. Sneed is a lawyer and businessman. He grew up in Arkansas and worked there as a cashier in a bank until his late 20s. He then returned to his native St. Louis, where he was licensed to practice law. From the legal staff of the Lubright Sales Corporation, he became sales manager of automotive products. In this position, he started research on the changing trends of petroleum distribution. He is now in charge of planned distribution with the Saucony Vacuum Oil Company. When he's not busy on that job, one of his hobbies is recording his thoughts in writing. Ed Sneed now shares with us some of his thinking on a way of life.
As a young man, I built up scrapbooks of articles that appealed to me.
one article became my guiding star. The title was Cultivate an Unholy Discontent. The general thought throughout was to always be ambitious to the maximum. It stressed therein the unlimited possibilities of mind and ingenuity. It reiterated that success will be in proportion to the plus that is added in study, thought, analyzation, and ingenuity over and above the daily demands of the job. Being ambitious, as most people are, I concentrated too strongly on the unholy discontent frame of mind. Many a morning or evening, over many years, in driving to my office or home, I would find myself at my destination and wonder how I made all of the stop signs unconsciously. I say unconsciously because my conscious mind was so filled with plans for my work and getting ahead that I did not drive or see consciously. My thoughts were largely on success, which always seemed far off on the horizon, and material things which I did not possess, but which I thought I should have. Disappointments, failure of expectations, and frustrations weighed too heavily in my thinking process. It was not until in my 40s that I began to realize that ambition should be modified by thankfulness. Until then, I did not think of or count my blessings. I took them for granted. To put it mildly, it was quite a shock to awaken to the fact that I had been continuously enjoying the greatest pleasures bestowed upon mankind without being appreciative or thankful. It was not until then that I found a big surge of mental strength, faith, hope, and happiness that comes from daily and frequent prayerful conversations with and thanks to our Supreme Father. From then on, I looked up, not down. Every minute now, I am conscious of all that is beautiful in this world about me. Before then, I did not see it. How thankful I am that I have good eyes, all of this beauty. In my mind now, and always, is a scale with two balanced trays. Whenever part of my thinking process starts to dwell on that which I feel or think I should have, but do not have, I pile on one tray of the scale some of my blessings: health, family, home, friends, our country where we still enjoy freedoms, a good job, and last but not least, all of the beautiful which the Creator has placed here for us to enjoy. When these blessings have been loaded onto one tray of my mind scales, I am ashamed to even think of offsetting and placing my petty discontents on the other tray. They are always so insignificant compared to the blessings that I enjoy.
That was Edward R. Sneed, who in living his life has learned that blind ambition can darken many joys and blessings. Listen while the makers of Rexall drug products and 10,000 independent Rexall family druggists bring you Dick Powell as Richard Diamond, private detective. Good evening. This is Bill Foreman speaking to you for the 10,000 independent druggists who have made the word Rexall part of their own store names. They've done that because they recommend and sell the 2,000 or more drug products made by the Rexall Drug Company. This evening we want to call your particular attention to Rexall's sensational two-page ad in this week's issues of Life, Look, Collier's, the Saturday Evening Post, and in the Farm Journal. One page of this important two-page spread announces 10 great new products from the world-famous Rexall Laboratories. The other page features 10 bedrock bargains, available at Rexall drugstores all during the month of June. For new and better health aids, or bigger and more useful bargains, be sure to check Rexall's eye-opening two-page ad in this coming week's issues of Life, Look, Collier's, the Saturday Evening Post, and in the Farm Journal. Good health to all from Rexall. Now your Rexall family druggist brings you a transcribed half hour with Richard Diamond, private detective,
starring Dick Powell.
Diamond Detective Agency. I was curious. I tasted it. I'm dying.
You sound awful.
Oh, if I had the energy, I'd throw my head out of the window.
Hangover?
Just worn out from getting my heart started, Lieutenant Levinson.
Mr. Levinson.
What do you mean?
As of 5 minutes ago, I became just plain Mr. Levinson.
Oh, think what a shock that's going to be to just plain Bill.
At exactly 3 o'clock, I started on my 2 weeks vacation. I am going fishing. I want to get lost in the woods somewhere. Pack in. Do my own cooking. Catch myself a limit of nice fat steelheads and rainbows.
Oh, I know. The smell of fried trout and boiling coffee.
Yeah.
Getting up the next morning. Breathing that fresh mountain air. And then realizing that you forgot to put out the fire and 20,000 acres have been burned flat.
Yeah. That was pretty mean.
Oh, go on. Get next to nature.
Too bad you have to stay in town and work.
I hope you get scurvy.
Bye, Blue Eyes.
No.
Mr. Diamond?
Yeah.
My name is Holland, Mr. Diamond. Arthur Holland.
Well, sit down, Mr. Holland. What can I do for you?
First, come over to this window.
Any particular reason, or do you plan an accidental suicide?
There should be a man standing across the street. He's been following me.
Oh? What does this man look like?
Crew cut, short, fat, wearing a black leather jacket. There he is.
In front of the cigar store?
Yes.
Who is he?
I have no idea. I've never seen him before.
Know why he might be following you?
No.
How long has he been following you?
Since this morning.
Oh, okay. What did you come to see me for?
My brother's name is William B. Holland. A long time ago, he left the family and started out to see the world. Started working his way from place to place. Although William has been gone for nearly 10 years, not once in those 10 years have I failed to receive a weekly letter.
But he hasn't written lately.
Not for a month.
Where was the last place he wrote you from?
San Borja, Bolivia.
Never heard of it.
A small city in the interior. Now, while in La Paz, he wrote me that he'd met a man named Louis Frober. This Frober was from San Borja and, according to Will, practically ran the place. And Will said he was going to visit him, and in his last 2 letters, he talked much of Frober and his hospitality. But said that something was wrong in this town of San Borja.
Didn't say what it was?
Didn't know.
Then his letters stopped?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And you wanted me to find out why they stopped, if anything's happened to your brother.
Mr. Diamond, I'm quite wealthy, and I will pay you handsomely to take the job. Besides, it might turn into a nice vacation. South America is supposed to be wonderful this time of year.
Vacation?
Possibly.
Well, Mr. Holland, I'll take the job on 2 conditions.
What are they?
Well, first, my fee, $100 a day and expenses.
Accepted.
Thank you. Second, that you purchase 2 tickets for San Borja, Bolivia.
2 tickets?
Well, I'd like to take my assistant along. Bolivia is new territory for me, and it might be dangerous.
I checked on you quite thoroughly, and I didn't find that you worked with an assistant.
Well, only on the cases that take me out of town. He's a worldly man. He could find a trout in the Sahara. Lots of experience. 15 years with the police department.
All right. What's his name?
Walter Q. Levinson. The Q is for Quincy. But don't tell him I mentioned it. Well, that's how it works. Man comes in, wants me to find his brother. Last seen in South America. Walt Levinson was looking for a vacation spot, and I was looking for someone to talk to on my way to San Borja. Result? 1 phone call to Fatty Levinson.
Bolivia?
Oh, but you'll love it, Walt. Trout as big as sharks.
Where did you get 2 tickets to Bolivia?
Well, to tell you the truth, Fatty, I'm going down on a little job.
See you when you get back. Bye.
Now, wait a minute. Wait a minute, you ingrate. I've just got to find a missing brother. After that, we can relax and have ourselves a time. Oh, think of it. South America. The ocean as blue as my eyes.
Dames.
Native music under a golden moon.
And dames.
Quaint little... What did you say?
Dames.
Well?
I'll meet you at the airport.
That
Pan American Grace Clipper, Flight 109 from Miami, Guatemala City, Panama, Lima, Arequipa, and La Paz, boarding at Gate 7, all aboard.
Pan American Clipper, destination La Paz, Bolivia. And enough horsepower to get us there in a snappy 14 hours. The lights of Manhattan dropping away as we turn on the first leg of our pattern, heading up for 16,000, looking down and wondering about a man in a leather jacket and a crew cut, looking down as the lights begin to melt into a heavy cold front. 16,000, flying south, the pitch changing the propellers into a mellow hum.
Why don't you relax?
Well, did you notice a little blonde stewardess with the high-altitude features?
On the way in. I want to get some sleep.
Well, indulge yourself. I'm going to see if I can do something about the pressure in this cabin. The water on my knee is beginning to percolate. Oh, miss! Hey, Fatty, wake up.
Huh? Oh.
You had yourself quite asleep.
Yeah. Where are we?
Well, another hour, we're in Miami.
How'd you make out with Miss Hummingbird?
Been with Pan American 3 years, 60,000 miles, over 2,000 hours. Name's Rogers, Gene Rogers, Baltimore.
How'd you make out?
Oh, shut up.
La compañía Panagra anuncia la llegada procedente de Nueva York. Los pasajeros desembarcarán en el terminal de Panagra número 3. Pan American Grace Airline Clipper Flight 109 from New York, now unloading at gate number 3.
Oh, I'm a little stiff.
I didn't know you brought anything with you.
What now?
Well, pick up our baggage and on to San Borja.
Where the devil is San Borja?
How do I know? Let's go find out. And we did. San Borja, according to the information desk, was some 200 kilometers into the interior. 10,000 feet above sea level, high on a plateau, and the only way there...
Oh, this is swell. Dandy vacation, but what happens when my liver comes loose?
Well, relax, Walt. Only 160 kilometers to go. Considering where we are, these roads are pretty good.
We'll never make it. I'll lay 8 to 5. We end up riding side saddle on a billiards llama.
Hey, driver.
Si, senor?
Why no airfield in San Borja?
Oh, there is one there. But it is what you call the emergency. It is hard for a plane to land. Something to do with the wind.
It's a plateau, isn't it?
Si, senor. We got to climb 5,000 feet yet.
Sounds like an ambitious chiropodist. 10 o'clock and the morning sun getting hotter. The old Ford straining up the grade like an antique teapot. 11 o'clock and the temperature crowding 120.
I want to go home.
Oh, we got to stop and let her cool off.
Blue ocean and tropical music.
Oh. How much farther, driver?
Oh, about 20 kilometers, senor. I'm going to put some water from the canteen in the radiator.
Hey, Walt, let's stretch our legs, huh?
Okay. Oh, lousy humidity.
Oh, she sure was empty.
He means his head.
Duck, Walt. On the car.
You okay?
Yeah. They're behind that hill. Go out this side and try to circle them. Keep them covered.
Right. Keep your head down.
Yeah, I'm glad you thought of that. Walt covered me, and I crawled out behind the car and took off for a bunch of trees. They didn't spot me until I'd circled them and was almost on top of them. 2 men with rifles lying behind a small hill. One of them turned and spotted me moving in. Walt?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
You all in one piece?
Yeah. How about you?
Fine. 2 of them, huh?
Yeah, bandits, I guess.
You got them both. Wonder what they're after.
Our hides. Came close to getting them, too. The unexpected. 2 men with rifles hiding behind a hill. If I hadn't gotten them, they'd have gotten us. We picked them up, dragged them over to the car, and I kept asking myself why. Why 2 men behind a hill with rifles? Bandits? Maybe. Assassins paid to wait there and kill us? If that was the answer, who told them we were coming? The man in the leather jacket back in New York? Maybe.
Dumped them in the car?
Yeah.
The drivers had it. Slug got him in the chest.
Well, dump him in, too. Let's get to San Borja and get some answers. And if you say anything about a vacation, I'll sing all the way up the hill.
The 2 Americans, Mr. Diamond and Mr. Levinson.
Come in. I am Louis Prober.
How do you do? Anything else, Mr. Frober?
No, that's all, Paul. Well, gentlemen, I understand you ran into some difficulty, no?
Well, your local constabulary seemed to think there was some law against driving around San Borja with 3 dead men in the back seat.
And these bandits attacked you and killed your driver, is that right?
That's right.
Yeah, you in turn killed them?
That's right.
For tourists, you fight rather well.
Well, not exactly tourists, Mr. Prober. We asked to see you because we were sent here to locate a William Holland.
Ah, I see. May I offer you a drink?
Lovely suggestion.
Here I present the interests of Arthur Holland, William's brother.
That's right.
Water?
Straight.
Well, gentlemen, I informed Mr. Holland that William simply left. After all, there's nothing strange about that. There you are.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're not looking for anything unusual, Mr. Prober. This was the last place William was heard from, so this is the most likely place to try and locate him.
Of course. Well, here's to a pleasant stay in San Borja, gentlemen, and cheer very good health.
Next week's issues of Life, Look, Collier's, the Saturday Evening Post, and the Farm Journal carry one of the most important Rexall advertisements ever published. One page of this amazing 2-page spread announces 10 great new products direct from the world-famous Rexall laboratories. The other features 10 down-to-the-bone bargains available at every Rexall drugstore all during June. Listen to just a couple of examples. From the product page, Rexall 5X Multivitamins, a new and vital formula that gives you 5 times the established daily requirement of all vitamins with known minimums. Special introductory offer, 10-day trial size, $1.79 value, free of extra cost with the purchase of the regular bottle of 50, both for only $6.95. From the bargain page, gold-plated metal frame sunglasses, men's and ladies' styles, regular dollar value, now only 67 cents. Remember, for new and better health aids, for bigger and more useful bargains, check Rexall's sensational 2-page ad in next week's issues of Life, Look, Collier's, the Saturday Evening Post, and in the Farm Journal.
And now back to tonight's adventure with Richard Diamond, Private Detective, starring Dick Powell.
Louis Frober, big man with a slight accent, drinking to our health and extending an invitation to his house for dinner that evening. One hotel in San Borja, not many tourists, according to the manager, but good rooms and hot water, according to the manager. Sandwiches and a late lunch compliments the hotel. Frober owned the hotel, according to the manager. It's open.
If you gentlemen would like, Mr. Frober instructed me to show you around the town. Who is it?
You want to see the town?
Sure.
I'm glad to have you show us around. What's your name?
Javacek. Paul Javacek.
San Borja, Bolivia. Sitting on the top of the world, 2/3 dense tropical jungle. Population 335 who take 2 months every year to cut back the persistent jungle. Principal industry, tin. The mines, 2 kilometers east. Frober owned the mines, according to Paul Javacek. 3 main streets, modern, up to date. A clothing store. Several cafes, a bank, telegraph office, post office, and a recreation hall. All built and owned by Frober, according to our guide, Paul Javacek.
You mine tin, huh? How do you get it out?
Trucks, then by cargo plane. If you had arrived tomorrow, you would have passed the caravans as you came up the mountain. The ore is taken out once a week.
How well did you know William Holland?
Not well. Now, if you gentlemen have seen enough for today, I suggest we leave for Mr. Frobert's house. He expects you at 7.
A kilometer from town in the house of Louis Frober. The jungle not far off and a heavy tropical shower right on top of it. Like Frober, the house was big and imposing. A showcase of its master's wealth and position.
I am so sorry that you got caught in the shower. They are pesky things sometimes, but they don't last long.
Louis?
Gentlemen, my wife, Mrs. Frober, Mr. Diamond, Mr. Linson.
How do you do?
How do you do?
How do you do? Dinner is served.
Dinner. The long, paneled dining room illuminated by a dozen candles. Music floating in from a hidden speaker. The food, something to make the Waldorf chef quietly fold his tent. And the conversation?
Do you plan to stay in San Borja long, Mr. Diamond?
It's hard to say, Mrs. Robert. It's a wonderful soup.
Mr. Diamond and Mr. Levinson have been sent here to try and locate William Holland.
Oh? The soup is my own recipe, Mr. Diamond. Made from barley grown right here in San Borja.
Just a casual dinner conversation, unless you're conditioned, aware of the subtle interrogation. The end of a pleasant and filling meal. Armagnac in the den, and more talk about health, wealth, and the weather. And more interrogation. 10 o'clock.
Well, I am afraid you'll have to excuse me now, gentlemen. I have to be up at 6 o'clock, and I have a half day ahead of me.
The conventional goodbyes and exaggerated compliments on a wonderful evening, then back to the hotel. All in all, a very interesting evening, according to Fatty Levinson.
Our charming hostess slipped me a note as we left.
Why, Walt.
I must talk with you. My husband will be leaving the house shortly before midnight. Meet me in the garden at 12.
Why, Walt.
It's addressed to you.
Why, Ricky. At 11:45, then out the back of the hotel, because in San Borja, everyone works for Louis Frober. Heading for Frober's house. Walt 50 yards behind, because in San Borja, a note asking you to meet the wife of Louis Frober might easily be a trap. Maybe William Holland had received just such a note. 12 o'clock and Mrs. Frober moving through the moonlight in the garden south of the house. Walt behind a tree, ready for anything.
I'm so glad you came, Mr. Diamond. Where's Mr. Levinson?
Well, he stayed behind. Why did you want to see me, Mrs. Frober?
It is about William Holland and my husband.
Where is your husband, Miss Frober?
He left with Paul for the mines. From what I could find out, he's going to meet someone. Someone of great importance.
Oh. What about William Holland?
I am sure he has been killed. And I am sure my husband had him killed.
Go on.
We first met William in La Paz. He was likable, easy to talk to. I had been married for 2 years, and it was my first trip away from San Borja. I liked William.
You know anyone in New York? Blonde, short-cut hair, plump face, might like to wear leather jackets?
No.
Go on with your story.
A year after I married Louis Frober, I began to suspect something wrong with his activities here in San Borja. The men who came to see him on business. Strange men. Foreigners to South America. Long nights of business meetings and trips to the mines. When William finally came here, I told him of my suspicions. And one night he informed me he was going to the mines to investigate. I never heard from him again.
You think it had something to do with your husband?
Right after that, I overheard a phone conversation by my husband. He was talking to someone he called the director.
The director?
Yes. My husband said that William had found his way into the mines and had been eliminated.
I see. You've only known your husband for 2 years.
2 years and a half. I met him in Rio while he was down on one of his business trips. I married him 6 months later and came to San Borja to live. Would you like to know where I met my husband, Mr. Diamond?
If you think it's necessary.
It's what I've come to believe. I feel that it is most necessary. I met him at a party given by the Russian embassy. Mr. Diamond, I am sure that my husband is an important official for the communists.
Along the road east of the Frober mines. No lights, just the moon. The sounds of the jungle raising the hair on the back of my neck. A kilometer from the mine, and the dull glow in the sky pointing the way. Frober's generators and manpower working late. The kilometer passed, and the tenseness in the middle of my stomach took on cramp-like proportions. We climbed a hill for a better look.
Pretty busy. Must be 30 trucks down there.
Getting them loaded for the trip down the hill.
Hey, listen to that.
Well, I'll be darned.
Is that what I think it is?
The fields in San Borja make it tough for a plane, but for a helicopter, that's another thing.
Frober left the house to meet somebody important.
Anybody who comes into San Borja in a helicopter at night is a pretty good bet to be important.
Our dead driver said there was an emergency field.
Well, it's landing on the other side of the mines. Must be close.
You want to take a look?
Well, not too many men around those trucks. Before we go looking for that copter, I want to see if it's really 10 Mr. Frober's taking out of that mine. Down the hill, walk 20 yards behind in case of trouble. Picking our way through the brush, trying not to sound like a landslide. A long road running away from the mines towards San Borja. The line of trucks, the first dozen or so loaded and ready, their backs piled high with sacks. The short sprint, and I was boosting myself up on the back of the first truck, digging into one of the sacks, feeling the heavy chunks of ore, then down off the truck with the ore in my hand.
You're up late, Mr. Diamond.
Paul Yavicek, Frober's right-hand boy, standing in the darkness, his gun pointed right at my stomach.
Mr. Frober will be happy to know of your interest in his mines. Start walking up the road toward the main gate. Stay ahead of me. Keep your hands in sight.
Tell me something, Yavicek. How do you get 10 out of pitch blend?
I suggest you ask Mr. Frober.
He's at the mines?
He will be. Drop it, Yavicek.
Thanks, Walt. Thanks. You all right?
Yeah, it's close. Yavicek?
Dead. Come on, let's get out of here.
Where to?
Well, Mrs. Frober said her husband had a phone conversation. I'm going to use that phone and warn La Paz about Frober.
Hold it.
What is it?
Car coming down the road. Frober.
Yeah, and he's got company. Probably his important visitor. When he finds out what's happened, he'll guess it's us. We'll never get back to town before he does.
Unless we drive.
I will take a chance on the confusion and grab that first truck.
Clear. The keys are in the truck. We must live right.
Yeah, but for how long?
There's a direct phone line all the way to Cavendo. The operator at Cavendo can put you through to La Paz.
Bueno. Operadora de Covendo, ¿puedes escribir?
She's talking Spanish. You better take it.
Esta es la señora Frober. Favor de conectarme con La Paz.
Minutes running out. Mrs. Frober looking frightened, waiting for La Paz to answer.
She has them.
Ask for the embassy.
Car pulling up.
La Embajada Americana, por favor.
Frober and his important friend.
Mr. Diamond, I have them.
Hello?
Yes, American Embassy.
Now listen carefully. I can't repeat. This is Richard Diamond, American citizen, calling from San Borja, Bolivia. Louis Frober is not mining 10. It's pitch blend, and is believed to be working for the Russian government.
Look out!
Hello, Mr. Diamond.
Rick.
Okay.
Mrs. Frober?
I'm all right.
Take a look at Frober and his friend.
Hello. What happened?
Hold on a second. There's been some trouble.
Frober's friend is dead. Frober's moving, but it doesn't look very good.
Hello, La Paz?
Yes, Mr. Diamond. Go ahead. What about Frober?
Wait a minute. Maybe I can get him to tell you himself if the phone will reach. Frober, can you hear me? Hello, La Paz. There's been a shooting here, and Mr. Frober's dying. Frober, you're dying. You want to tell us about it? You're mining pitch blend instead of 10, right?
Right.
You're working for the Soviet Union?
Yeah.
Did you send 2 men to ambush me?
Yeah. Our agents in New York watched Arthur Holland and
reported that she had been hired.
The guy with the crew cut and a leather jacket.
Did you have William Holland killed?
Yeah. He found out what... Oh.
Robert. Hello, La Paz. Prober's dead.
This time of year, no woman wants to spend endless hours caring for her skin and makeup. Since you want the finest beauty care in the least time and with no nonsense about it, why not try the new Ann Delafield Cosmetics? Designed expressly for the busy modern woman, they give you the most for your cosmetic dollar and save time as well. There are no endless bottles and jars, no endless creams for different corners of your face and neck. Just one fine cream. The Ann Delafield All-Purpose Deep Cream. A day cream, cleansing cream, night cream. All creams in one. There are vitamins, too, for true beauty from within, and other lovely makeup aids tailor-made for you. Look for the fine Ann Delafield Cosmetics at Rexall drugstores everywhere. Good health to all from Rexall. Richard Diamond, Private Detective, stars Dick Powell in the title role and was written by Blake Edwards with music composed and conducted by Frank Worth. Dick Powell directed the RKO production Split Second, which is now in release, and his latest film appearance was in the Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer award-winning The Bad and the Beautiful. Heard in tonight's cast were Arthur Q. Bryan, Wilms Herbert, Ben Wright, Jack Crucian, Virginia Gregg, Don Diamond, and Lillian Bayef. Richard Diamond, Private Detective, is transcribed in Hollywood by Jaime Del Valle. This is Bill Foreman inviting you to be with us next Sunday at this time when Rexall Drug Products again bring you Dick Powell as Richard Diamond, Private Detective. Remember, for new and better health aids, for bigger and more useful bargains, check Rexall's sensational two-page ad in next week's issues of Life, Look, Collier's, the Saturday Evening Post, and in the Farm Journal. You can know better health. You can save money.
This I believe. Over 40 years ago, a man named Edwin Balmer quit newspapering in his native Chicago to write fiction. He explored the world, lived in Japan, and his successful serials and popular novels have drawn their background from his travels. But he speaks now of the answers he has found to the real, not fictional, questions of life.
At first, I believed what I was taught, that the world steadily was becoming a better and better place, that progress was the law of life. Education and religion were the engines of improvement. When people became better educated and more religious, wrongs and injustices would disappear. For several years, I had no trouble with these comfortable beliefs. I discovered little to make them difficult and nothing to make them impossible to hold. I could see that people were becoming better educated, and it seemed they were becoming more moral, too. Certainly material conditions were improving. And in the early years of this century, it seemed to me that nations as well as individuals were gaining a higher sense of social responsibility. The start of the First World War did not shake my beliefs, for there had always been wars, and this one seemed to me merely the same thing on a wider scale. Then the German government, ordered submarines to sink merchant and passenger ships without warning, and the Lusitania went down with a loss of more than 1,100 men, women, and children. I'd had the disadvantage or the advantage of contact with the catastrophe. Years before, I was one who stood outside the Iroquois Theater in Chicago while the firemen were carrying out the dead. And I was one of the newspaper men who reported the accident at the Eastland when it turned over in the Chicago River with the loss of 800 lives. These were almost unbearable experiences, and both disasters, of course, were wholly accidental. The sinking of the Lusitania, on the contrary, had been deliberately ordered and contrived. After we entered the war and Germany was beaten, it seemed that we were on the way up again. Then the twin tyrannies of terror, fascism, and Nazism took over first the nation which had been for more than 1,000 years the seat of the Catholic Church, and next they captured the state which had brought about the Protestant Reformation. We were in the Second World War, more barbarous and brutal than the first. The Nazis bombed Rotterdam, London, Coventry. Like everybody else, I called it atrocious, but soon I found myself on the side that was bombing Hamburg, Berlin, Nuremberg, Hiroshima. I had particular difficulty with Hiroshima, because years earlier I had visited the city. Hiroshima was not for me a dot on the map and a simple statistic, population 300,000. I'd had acquaintance with the family in Hiroshima, and they had been extremely courteous and kind to me. They lived in one of those flimsy wooden paper houses of the sort which had disappeared under the bomb. There had been a little boy so glad to run an errand for me on a rainy evening, and a little girl too shy to do more than bow and smile at a visitor from so far away. Had they been in their matchbox homes when the bomb went off? I remembered how eager the older people had been to show their admiration of America and of our civilization. They had wanted me to tell them all I could about our ways. If they had survived, what were they thinking of us now? What am I, myself, to think? I find about me not only the collapse of confidence between nations, but also an undeniable letdown in personal conduct and morals. Plainly, things are not better. Plainly, we're in a period of trial like that with which Abraham Lincoln was dealing when he declared, "The pattern of salvation must be worked out by all, for all." No personal significance or insignificance can spare one or another of us as we go through our lives here. The trial through which we are passing will light each single one of us down in honor or in dishonor to the last generation. This comes to me as a call to my duty today, reminding me that it was never through any single great stroke that civilization was built up, but through the countless inconspicuous acts of millions like myself, each doing his best and holding to his faith in his God and the final triumph of the right. So once more, the pattern of salvation will be worked out for all, by all. This I believe.
That was Edwin Ballmer, author, editor, now associate publisher of Red Book magazine in New York, stating his beliefs.
Mr. District Attorney, starring David Bryan. Mr. District Attorney, champion of the people, defender of truth, guardian of our fundamental rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
And it shall be my duty as District Attorney not only to prosecute to the limit of the law all persons accused of crimes perpetrated within this county, but to defend with equal vigor the rights and privileges of all its citizens. This is David Bryan. In a moment, we'll bring you another case from the files of Mr. District Attorney. But first, a word from our sponsor.
And now, here is our star, David Bryan, as Paul Garrett, Mr. District Attorney.
To the untrained observer, a crime and an accident may sometimes be indistinguishable, one from the other. But a district attorney must weigh each possibility in the scales of science and circumstances before drawing his conclusions. You take this case. It started on a farm near County Line at 2 a.m. as a man, awakened by a wave of nausea, staggers weakly from his bed. May.
May, where are you? May, what's the matter? Why are you out of bed?
Oh, Bob, I feel so sick.
You're kind of funny myself.
I was just filling a hot water bottle for my stomach. What can be the matter with me?
Honey, you're white as a sheet. Come on, you better get back and lie down. Fine. I can hardly stay on my feet without holding on to something.
Oh, you're all perspired. Bob, what can it be?
Must be coming down with the flu or something. You know, your kid brother acted kind of funny before he went to bed.
I heard him get up about 11 o'clock, complaining about a stomachache.
Let's see if he's awake. Here we better call the doctor. At least he's sleeping.
It's so chilly in here. I'll throw an extra blanket over him.
Honey, he's 20 years old. He can get a blanket if he needs it. Come on. We better get back to bed ourselves.
It'll only take me a minute to fix it, Bob.
All right, you come on now. We'll call the doctor in the morning.
Oh, I never felt so sick. Bob.
What is it, man? What's the matter?
Feel his face. Feels so funny. Bob, he's so cold. He isn't even breathing.
No. Don't get yourself excited. I'll wake him up. Walter, wake up. Walter!
Wake up, Walter! Walter!
Doctor.
Oh, Bob, what's the matter with him?
I'll go down and call the doctor right away.
Bob! Bob, don't leave.
May.
No.
May, honey! I gotta get somebody to help. Gotta get downstairs to the phone. I can't make it. Medicine chest is in here, Chief. Bathroom right off the master bedroom.
Well, it all looks harmless enough, Harrington. Home remedies, first aid materials. Lab boys seen these?
Yep. Took samples from each bottle for analysis.
Anything?
Nope. Chief, it's got to be poison, though. 3 bodies, no sign of violence, no weapon.
I know. How long did the medical examiner figure they'd been dead?
Oh, since sometime night before last.
A long time. Did the lab men check the garbage cans and the refuse containers?
Yeah. No empty bottles of any kind. Just a few cans, a jar, vegetable peelings, things like that.
Well, something killed them. Better have another look around downstairs. How long ago were the bodies taken into town?
Oh, about 3 hours.
Autopsy report should be ready pretty soon, then. Unless the doc runs into trouble.
Yeah, well, I figured he'd want it as soon as possible, so I asked him to send it out with Miss Miller as soon as it was finished.
Good. I think that
There's a car outside now. Might be her.
No, that's a man's knock. Come in.
Which one of you is Garrett?
I am. Who are you?
My name is Sid Mack. I own half this farm. I was Farragut's partner. I just want to find out one thing. I want to know who did this.
If we knew that, we wouldn't be here trying to find out, Mr. Mack.
I just want to make sure that whoever did it doesn't get away with it. You can post a $5,000 reward for the killer in my name. Make it 10. Make it anything I got, but get him.
We don't need rewards for that, mister. What we need is information.
You said you own half this farm, Mr. Mack?
Yes.
And you haven't been here since the night before last?
I don't live on the place. It was just an investment for me. I set Farragut up here. I got a big hardware store over in Emmetsville. I live there.
I see. Do you know anybody who might have had any reason for wanting Farragut and his family out of the way?
Out of the way like this? Why, it'd have to be a madman.
Squad car just turned into the road, Chief. That's Miss Miller. Looks like Simmons driving.
Let her in.
Right.
We've been waiting for an autopsy report, Mr. Mack.
Yeah, Miss Miller.
It may tell us which way to move.
I hope so.
Got Dr. Miller's autopsy report, Mr. Garrett.
Good. Could he establish the poisoning agent?
There wasn't any.
There wasn't any.
You mean he couldn't make an analysis?
No, sir. There just wasn't any deliberate introduction of a poison. All 3 deaths were accidental.
Well, let me see that report.
Doc must have missed something this time, Chief.
No, he didn't miss anything, Harrington. The deaths were caused by botulism.
Botulism? What's that?
The result of improper home canning of food. The report shows that the Farraguts made their last meal of green beans, potatoes, and canned sausage meat. The bacteria was unmistakable. It was the home canned sausage meat.
Well, I guess in a way we can be thankful, Chief. It's nice to know it wasn't murder.
Another way, I almost wish it were.
Mr. Garrett.
No, don't misunderstand me. I'm afraid we've got a greater and a much more dangerous job on our hands than just finding a killer.
I don't follow you, Chief.
We've been all over the house, Harrington. The kitchen, the pantry, everywhere. There's nothing in the house that's home canned. And no equipment for home canning.
Hey, that's right. All we found was one empty jar on the kitchen drain board.
Farm women do pass out samples of their home canning to friends and neighbors, Mr. Garrett. That jar might have been a gift.
Quite a gift. Like a stick of dynamite with a lighted fuse.
What you're trying to say is that somebody around here might have a pantry full of poison and not know it.
That's exactly right, Mr. Mack. The Farraguts are dead, but dozens of others may die the same way unless we find out where that sausage meat came from, and fast. Harrington.
Yep.
Get all available local police on this with a couple of squads sent out from the city. I want the sheriff and all his available manpower, too.
Right.
Fan them out for a 20-mile radius. I want direct contact with anybody in the area who can't be reached by phone. See if anybody they can reach gave the Farraguts a jar of sausage meat. Get right on it.
Have it set up in 20 minutes.
Miss Miller, you'll be in charge of the phone campaign. Special operators from the phone company. All that they can spare. All listings in this area to be called.
So where will you be?
I'm back at the office, praying that we don't get any more calls from the hospital or the morgue before we find the source of that jar.
Don't put my car away, Phil. I may be going right out again.
Sarge?
Aren't you?
Oh, there's an elevator. Hold it, Pete. 8, please.
You know, Chief, I don't think we missed more than a dozen people in the area you mapped out. Now, we know most of those are away on business or vacations.
Yeah, I know.
5 days. If only somebody'd come forward and admit that they canned the stuff the Farraguts ate, we'd know we were safe.
Well, they may be afraid of being held responsible for the deaths.
Oh, with the newspaper, the TV, and the radio campaigns telling them that the inquest held the death as accidental?
Just the same, people scare. It is something to wonder about. Oh, here we are. Thanks, Pete.
Well, maybe one of the squads have left the report with Miss Miller. What time is it?
Almost 10 p.m.
Well, hello. I thought you'd never get back.
Sorry to keep you so late again, Miss Miller. Any news?
No, I'm afraid not. Everybody's checked in. The reports are on your desk.
Oh, thanks. You'd better go home.
All right. Oh, there's a Mr. Carruthers in your office. He's been waiting to see you since about 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock? That's a long wait in any league.
Do you know who he is or what he wants?
He wouldn't tell me. He said it's confidential.
All right. I'll see him. You run along.
Good night. Good night, Harrington.
Good night, Miss Miller. Well, let's have a look at the reports and see what the very patient Mr. Carruthers wants. Mr. Carruthers?
Excuse me, I almost dozed off.
Oh, it's all right. I'm Paul Garrett. This is my assistant, Mr. Harrington.
Well.
Anything we can help you with?
Yes. I flew down from Hartford to see you, Mr. Garrett.
I'm an investigator for the Eastern and Frontier Insurance Company. Mr. Garrett, we understand that you're still investigating the deaths of Robert and May Farragut and their brother Walter McMahon.
Well, we're trying to locate the source of the food that killed them, if that's what you mean.
Then, this isn't a criminal investigation.
Didn't you get a report on the inquest verdict?
Yes, but you can't blame us for being interested when a beneficiary submits a claim for $30,000.
$30,000?
Who's the beneficiary? Somebody who had a half interest in the Farragut farm. A man named Sid Mack.
No wonder he could afford to offer a $10,000 reward, Chief.
Yeah. How long ago were those policies written, Mr. Carruthers?
I have the dates right here. Let's see, just a little over a year ago when Mack bought his interest in the farm. That's the main reason my company wanted to be certain about your investigation, Mr. Garrett. It's a routine matter, of course, for partners to insure each other, but
this involves Farragut's entire family.
Yes. However, since there's no criminal investigation, you'll have to honor Mr. Mack's claim. Thanks for your time, Mr. Garrett.
Just a moment, Mr. Carruthers. I suggest you don't recommend payment of that claim just yet.
But, Mr. Garrett, you just said there's no criminal investigation.
There wasn't a minute ago, but there is now. This is David Bryan. Before we continue with Mr. District Attorney in the case of the canned death, here is an important message from our sponsor.
And now, back to David Bryan, starring as Paul Garrett, Mr. District Attorney.
The coroner had listed as accidental the deaths of 3 persons, all victims of botulism, a deadly food bacteria resulting from improper home canning. In trying to locate the source of the lethal food to prevent other fatalities, we came into contact with an insurance investigator who disclosed that the 3 dead people had been heavily insured and that the beneficiary was Sid Mack. Harrington and I got a search warrant for Mack's house. Mack had already left for his hardware store, but we were admitted by a hired girl who disappeared as we were making our search.
Well, there's nothing in the kitchen, Chief.
Well, there's nothing in the pantry either, Harrington. Well, let's try the cellar.
There's a light switch on the side there.
Yeah.
That hired girl scooted in a hurry, didn't she?
Probably gone to Mack's hardware store to tell him what we're doing.
Yeah. Should have kept her here until we finished.
It doesn't make any difference. He'd know sooner or later. And if there's anything here, he won't be able to stop us from finding it.
We're not going to find anything, Chief. If there was more of that contaminated food, he'd be stupid to have it around. And if he killed the Farraguts, he's not stupid. His whole job is too clever.
No crime is perfect, though. If there was a crime, there's been a slip someplace. Let's move those crates.
Okay. Nothing in these, Chief.
Try the barrels. Hold it, Harrington. Somebody came in upstairs.
Must be Mack.
You down there, Garrett? That's right, Mr. Mack. What's the big idea?
Just having a look around. We've got a search warrant.
You know so much about the law, maybe you're going to need more than a search warrant. I had a call from an insurance man named Carruthers this morning. And we had a call from him last night. That's why we're here.
I've got a legitimate insurance claim, but you've stopped payment of it.
It'll be paid in due time, if it should be paid.
Yeah. Let me tell you something, Garrett. Out at the farm, before we found out what killed the Farraguts, I offered to put up everything I have as a reward, didn't I?
Didn't I?
Yes, Mac. You did.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Mac. Because it just brought something to my mind. Something that's been trying to register ever since you made that offer.
What?
How long have you been in the hardware business?
11 years. Why?
Because when we told you the Farragut's died from botulism, from food that wasn't canned properly, we almost had to draw you a blueprint. You didn't seem to know anything about it.
How should I know anything about it?
Don't you sell canning equipment at the hardware store?
Well,
we can ride over to the store, have a look at your stock. Do you sell it or don't you?
Oh, right. I sell canning equipment. Any hardware store does. I don't even know why I'm bothering to talk to you. You got your warrant. Go ahead and search. But you're not going to find anything here. No canning equipment and no canned sausage meat. So go ahead. Search your heads off.
He knows something about those deaths, Chief. He practically told us right to our faces.
Yes, he's pretty sure of himself. He hasn't got a case, and he knows it.
He could have brought canning equipment home from the store, then dished it when he was finished.
He'd need more than just equipment, Hank.
Huh? What?
Pork. Hog meat. Quite a bit of it, too. Botulism bacteria isn't easy to cultivate, even deliberately. It would probably take quite a few tries before a poisonous batch developed.
Well, we can check butcher shops.
And the farms. He might have had one butchered at some farm around here.
Yeah. Means we got to comb this whole section of the county again.
We either do that or...
Or what?
Or let a man get away with a triple murder.
I'm sorry, Chief. I didn't mean it the way it sounded. Let's go.
Well, thanks, Mr. Foster. Bye.
Any luck, Harrington?
No, nothing. Just like the others. He might have given me some kind of a lead, though.
Like what?
Well, it seems there's a place we missed when we were making our first check around here. It's not really a farm.
Well, what is it, then?
It's a place off a dirt road about a half-mile north of here. Forrester says there's an old woman living in a shack back there with her grandson. Her name is Annie Hibbs.
Well, what did Forrester say about her?
She had to think hard to remember the name Annie Hibbs, Chief. They usually call her by a nickname. They call her the Pig Woman. She raises hogs.
That's our next stop.
Forrester says she's kind of strange, Grandson is feeble-minded. They had him at the state asylum for a while, but he was harmless, so they let him go.
And why are you looking so worried?
Well, hogs aren't the only animals up there, Chief. Forrester says they've got the meanest dog in the state.
And don't they keep him tied?
Yeah, but he chews loose. And he hates everybody but the old lady and her grandson.
Well, we've got to see those people. It's going to take more than a mean dog to stop us.
Yeah, there's a shack.
Yeah, big one, too. Look, there's a man.
Look. Oh, hey, mister, wait a minute. He's taking off like a scared jackrabbit, Chief. That must be the grandson.
Well, let him go for now.
Why did you scare my grandson? What do you want here?
Well, we'll tell you in a minute, but there's something else we'd like to know first. Where's your dog?
That's him, buried there. The devil come for him. He's dead. And Luke cries for him. He's afraid at night without the dog.
Luke must be the grandson, Chief.
Yeah. We just came up here to see if you have any home-canned sausage meat we might buy.
No, I don't know nothing about canning.
I see. Then you never gave any canned sausage meat to a family named Farragut.
You know who they were, don't you? Their farm is less than a mile from here.
Yes, I know.
Then you must also know they're dead.
Not dead. Gone to glory.
If you never gave anything to the Farraguts, did you ever give or sell, any of the canned sauces to a man named Sid Mack?
Or even a live hog? Well, did you any? You've got a right to sell what you own.
I don't know nobody by that name.
He owns the hardware store in Emmettville. That's the only town near here.
I never sold him nothing. He never come up here.
Oh, tell us that he never...
It's all right, Harrington. Thank you, Annie. That's all we wanted to know for now.
And don't you ever come back here again now. You ain't taking my grandson back to that place here. You'll never get this close if that dog was living. You ain't taking Luke back to that place.
He means the asylum, I think.
Yes. Get over behind that brush.
Hard to tell with anybody like that, but she seemed to tighten up when you mentioned Sid Mack.
Yes, he's been up here all right. Harrington, I've got a hunch. You stay here until I send a lab crew out.
What for?
I want to know what killed Annie's dog. Miss Miller?
Oh, yes, Mr. Garrett?
No word from Harrington yet?
No, sir. Radio division tried again about 45 minutes ago and still can't reach him. Or the lab car.
The spot where that dog was buried was close enough to the road for them to hear the radio calls. Better order my car. I'll have to go.
Chief, we got it. The whole case is cracked wide open.
What happened?
Botulism killed the dog, all right. We caught Annie's grandson. When we calmed him down, he told us the dog had died after Sid Mack had brought a jar of meat up for them to feed it.
And the city is mine. And we still haven't got him cornered.
Why not?
With Luke's background in the asylum and a smart defense attorney in court scaring him and confusing him, his story wouldn't hold up.
Not even if we could produce a few more jars of the contaminated batch with Mack's fingerprints all over them?
You've got them?
More than 20 jars. Luke showed us where Mack buried them, about 100 yards from the dog's grave.
So that's why radio division couldn't reach you.
That's right, that's why.
What time is it, Miss Miller?
4:10.
Good. Come on, Harrington. We can make Emmettville very nicely before Sid Mack closes his hardware store.
I'll be with you in a minute, man. As soon as I get this straight of that. Oh, it's you two again. What kind of a bright idea have you got this time?
An idea that's going to book you for murder, mister.
Are you kidding?
You can drop that smile, Mac. We've got the whole story from Luke Hibbs and his grandmother.
The words of a lunatic. Doesn't the law say something about a reasonable doubt, Mr. Garrett?
Not when we've got some buried samples of your canning, with your fingerprints all over the jars. Just yours.
So? Like you once said, I sell canning equipment. And if I sold those jars, I handled them. And my prints were on them. I think my story's good on that point.
I don't. Because those prints were put on the jars after they were filled and the canning completed. Any prints that were on them before that would have been steamed off in the process of canning. And proving that to a jury won't be hard.
Don't you raise that claw hammer, Mac. Don't make me put a bullet in you because, frankly, mister, I'm tempted.
Wait a minute. Don't let him talk like that, Mr. Garrett. I dropped it. I'm not resisting.
All right. Just keep it that way. Let's go.
You've got it all wrong, I tell you. It was all an accident.
Save it for the jury.
Hold it a second, Mac. You'd better lock up. You won't be coming back.
Well, what can I do? What can I do to square this?
Bring 3 people who trusted you back to life.
Go on. Lock it.
This is David Bryan again. I hope you've enjoyed this case from the file of Mr. District Attorney. I'll be back in just a moment after this message from our sponsor.
star of Mr. District Attorney, David Bryan, with a word about the program you have just heard.
Sid Mack was tried and convicted on a charge of murder in the first degree. The death sentence was mandatory when the jury failed to recommend clemency. And now this is David Bryan inviting you to join us when we present our next case based on the facts of crime from the files of Mr. District Attorney.
Mr. District Attorney was originated by Philip H. Lawrence.